Do 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 do. I don't know. I got to think of something.
I'm wearing all black for a purposeful reason.
It's a funeral type procession here on Mack and Black stream number 56, guys. What's up? As you know, Thursday Thursday was the Bears-Bucs game, and yesterday not so good things happened to our boy Nick, but we've got a little bit of a truncated show today, so I want Nick to get right into his thoughts here because obviously it's been a little bit of a roller coaster last couple days, but I know we want to talk. We're going to talk finals. Obviously, we're going to talk the baseball championship series and obviously get into the NFL. But I want you to get have the floor so you can talk a little bit about the frustrations over the last couple days. So, how's it been, man? How you holding up?
I'm not holding up too well. As you mentioned, it is a funeral-like recession going on right now. I'll be having to repass here in a little bit. But I have a weird feeling I'm going to snap at some point because the Yankees piss me off. The Bucs piss me off. Freaking Danny Green can't hit wide open threes. That series should be over with.
Yeah.
It's like Jeebus Creebus, dude. No one can get stuff done. Freaking
First day, sorry.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's utterly ridiculous what is happening to me and my sports squads. I mean, I'm not even a Lakers fan. I just don't want the Heat to win the NBA championship.
Yeah.
But every time you feel like that the Lakers are just right there on the cusp to finally do God's work, they, for whatever reason, let Duncan Robinson go off for 26. You let Jimmy Butler go off for a triple-double. And it's like, come on, dude. This game should have been over. And once again, the sharpshooter that is Danny Green. And by the way, wow, since I'm on the subject of that, I love how everyone's like still trying to clown LeBron. Like, why would you have passed the ball? If that was Mike, he would have taken a wide open. Do you have a sharpshooter, three-point shooter that's wide open for three?
Yeah, even Jordan couldn't pass that one up.
Thank you, dude. Because Michael Jordan never passed a game-winning shot off to John Paxson in the '93 finals. Let's go ahead and roll up that tape and let's remind ourselves what happened in that too.
Yeah,
just stupid, dude. So
not only Danny Green, but I mean Markieff Morris, like. That was the best decision that you could have made. That you have LeBron wide open in the corner, by the way. Markieff Morris gets the offensive rebound. All he has to do is either swing it back up to Danny Green, who maybe had another shot there, or run it back to LeBron. You got maybe 5-6 seconds left and see what you can do. Instead, he tries a lob to a clearly injured Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis wasn't even close to there. So the Lakers, man, I think they wanted the storybook ending too much, Nick. I talked about it with some of my buddies yesterday. The Mamba jerseys and they were already sort of printing they're already printing the hats and the shirts, And in my mind, that was such a huge disrespect to the Heat. All they really to be quite honest, LeBron and everybody has been very professional about the way that they've spoken about it. But I thought the Lakers came into the game with the assumption that we're wrapping this up. We're going to be in the Mamba jerseys. We're going to be celebrating tonight. They had the champagne on ice, and I think Miami just came out with a little bit more energy, especially early. And even those 4 or 5 minutes that AD missed in the first half, those were huge because it looked serious to me. Honestly, man, remember when KD grabbed the back of his ankle like that, and we both said, wow, that's an Achilles. And I was with my buddies, and I said, yeah, that's definitely Achilles, but he re-aggravated a heel injury, previous heel injury. But that 4 or 5 minutes he missed was huge because Jimmy just kind of went to work, and like you mentioned, Duncan Robinson hitting open shots, and the Heat didn't look that great. That's the crazy part, is the Heat didn't look that great, and they still won that game.
Yeah, most definitely on that one. And the scary part about it too, though, is the worst thing you can do is give a team down 3-1, where a lot of people maybe didn't think that the Heat were actually going to make it to the finals, let alone get there, and you give them that bulletin board material for them to win. So I think to your point, where we have the Mamba jerseys on and we haven't lost in these all playoffs, and this is for Kobe, and this is pretty much over with, and that gives a team like the Heat bulletin board material. And then when they come out playing like a team that basically almost has nothing to lose. You get these performances by Jimmy Butler, who, oh, by the way, is averaging a triple-double in the finals. You get Duncan Robinson, that's been pretty much broke all finals. Finally finds his, his stroke and whatever. That is dangerous if you're the Lakers. So, I know, I still think, obviously LeBron is still the best player in the world, and we'll see how Anthony Davis's health is, but they're going to really need AD to come in. LeBron actually, for what it's worth, almost nailed a triple-double himself, but, LeBron James, in my opinion, has come to be that guy where he's kind of almost like what Allen Iverson was when he was in Philly. For as great as a scorer as Iverson was when he was in Philly, there was that one year, and I almost want to say it was either the year he won MVP or the year after, in where whenever he would score 40, Philly always managed to lose.
Right, yeah.
And LeBron is kind of that guy where his greatness isn't just him dropping 40 points. It's him grabbing rebounds. It's him setting up other guys. It's him running the floor and being that floor general. Yeah. So when LeBron James's game is basically, okay, well, I'm going to have to sit here and nail threes in order to keep up with Jimmy Butler, the difference is that the Heat aren't just standing around looking at Jimmy. Right. They're still moving, and Jimmy's like, well, I got this guy in front of me, so I'm just going to take the shot, or I'm just going to go to the hole. Where in LeBron's case, if everyone knows he's going to shoot, everyone stands around. So his 40 isn't as meaningful, and I hate to say it that way, than Jimmy Butler's 40. So
right.
LeBron James, in my opinion, if he's going to drop 20 or 30, that's fine. But you're going to need to do what Jimmy did and add another 15 assists to where they don't know if you're going to pass or if you're going to shoot.
Right.
And that's what LeBron James probably is going to need to do in Game 6. And again, that's also factoring in if Anthony Davis is, wherever his health is at, when this is all said and done. But I feel LeBron James needs to be triple-dub LeBron James if the Lakers are going to try and take out Game 6.
And Frank Vogel has something to do with that too, right, Nick? I mean, you've got to find ways to get your shooters open, and it seems like the only way that, guys like KCP and Danny Green and some of these other shooters and Kuzma can get open is if LeBron is driving and kicking. And that's not always going to work, right? Teams are going to force LeBron to drive and kick. And, we saw it yesterday. Listen, the Heat took a huge chance yesterday. They let Danny Green shoot that shot. 4, 5, 6 times out of 10, Danny makes that shot. So I think the Lakers probably like those odds, and the Heats probably were not too happy about him getting that open shot off. But it is what it is. You got the win, and if you're the Heat, you probably were hoping that you get the 2 days off between this game and the next game, but you had them before last game. So now you got one day to basically recover, and tomorrow you're back at it. And Jimmy, I don't know if you saw it, but Jimmy played 47 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, he was walking off from the press conference looking like a man that's got into a car accident. So, the Heat, credit to Eric Spoelstra because he never lost confidence in Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero or some of these other guys. Even to a certain extent, it's like Iggy has had some really good defensive stands in this series, but also he's killed them offensively too because the Lakers, and specifically LeBron, I think from playing so much against AI in the past, Iguodala in the past, I think he realizes we can let this guy go on offense and we can really focus on other shooters, and it's worked for the most part. So it's going to be a little bit more of a chess match, I think. It seemed like the Lakers just wanted to grit it out this game, and the Heat were just going to grit it out in turn. And I think tomorrow we're going to see a little bit more of a calculated game. I think you're going to start to see a little bit more flow on offense, a little bit less of the let's just run it directly into his chest and take it to the hole, because there was a lot of that in yesterday's game. So interesting game tomorrow because obviously if you're the Lakers, right, it's kind of a must win. You can't afford to go into a Game 7 at this point, giving this team that much confidence. So a lot of interesting storylines to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And Keith said he feels that Spoelstra is out-coaching Vogel. I agree with that to a slight extent. I think I've always have the utmost respect for Eric Spoelstra and his, coaching paralysis and, what he is as a coach. And, we mentioned on this show before on how when LeBron was in Miami, everyone felt that LeBron was the coach and Eric Spoelstra just happened to have the name. But you're seeing how good of a coach he has been in the post-LeBron era. The Miami Heat have always been, one of those teams where they were kind of on the bubble where you knew they had good players and you knew they could make it to the playoffs. So the first year that they make it to the playoffs, past in the post-LeBron era, it's like, okay, they were good enough to make the playoffs. We think they can make a run. And then the next year they make it to like the second round, and then they lose to Milwaukee. But you still know that they're still good enough for them to maybe make another run. And then now here they are in the NBA Finals. So, Eric Spoelstra's done a great job with what he has, and I just think yesterday the Miami Heat just really wasn't ready to go home, and I think you saw the performance, especially what Jimmy put down. I think I read he only sat for 49 seconds and pretty much played the entire game. So, that's one of those Kemba Walker-esque UConn-like performances that he did yesterday, and I'm with you. The Lakers have to close this out tomorrow because you can't go into a Game 7 where the Heat have all the mo and you're kind of with your backs on the wall. We've seen LeBron James succeed and choke per se in the Game 7. We've seen the greatest block in the world that he did in Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors in Cleveland, and then we've seen him get swept out of series and in some other game clinching series. You never know when it comes to LeBron. So I'm with you in where I believe that the Lakers, if they're going to win this, it has to be done tomorrow, because if you're trying to extend this to Monday or Tuesday when they play again, you could see the Miami Heat raising the NBA championship.
And maybe Dragic comes back too. That's another thing. Like that one more game that you add, maybe you add one big piece to their puzzle, and who knows, so
exactly.
And I don't want to harp too much on this because I don't want to sound like a dickhead, but this whole this is for Kobe and Gianna, and the pressure that the Lakers have put on themselves to make this season about Kobe and Gianna, it seems like, I don't want to say it backfired because the series is still going on, but at the end of the day, it's enough pressure to go in and win an NBA Finals. And when you put that added pressure on yourself and the weight of this is our year because of Kobe and Gianna, it doesn't help you. It really doesn't. If anything, the pressure that you would feel in Game 6 and Game 7 of the NBA Finals is bad enough as it is. But then when you add the extra factors of we're doing this for Kobe and Gianna, it makes it really, really difficult. So that's another thing. It's like an oversight on the Lakers' part where, finish the job. I liked LeBron sort of channeling his inner Kobe and saying the job isn't done and we need to continue and da-da-da-da. But I think overall there's a little bit of oversight there by the Lakers to, it's a feel-good story because you want, Kobe and Gianna to be remembered. It would be a storybook ending, right? But you have to execute that before you start to put it into the universe like that. So I'm hoping and praying that AD is healthy next game. That's what I really want to see. I don't want to see AD on one leg out there just because he needs to be out there. I think the idea is that, he needs to be healthy and he needs to execute. The fact of the matter is, I would probably say 10 to 15 minutes of the game that he was playing last night, Nick, he could barely jump. And could barely, get off of his right foot. That's not what you want. And if it takes – listen, I'm sorry. This is kind of a crazy thing to say, but if you're Frank Vogel and you're like, I might have to sit this dude in Game 6 just to make sure he's healthy if we need him for Game 7 because, man, if you go into Game 6, you lose that, and you go into Game 7 with an even more hobbled AD, that's trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And you also run the risk of if AD gets hurt even worse to where he can't even play Game 7.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's also another factor you have to add in. So, I'm with you Let's go back to something you said a couple minutes ago about the added pressure on LeBron and the Lakers doing it for Gianna and Kobe and all this other stuff. That's why I thought it was kind of stupid that they went out and wore the Mamba jerseys.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's bulletin board material. Because you're not going out there to win Game 5 of the NBA Finals in the black Mamba jerseys because of the record.
Right.
You're doing it because you know that you're basically saying this series is over. And you're saying that we're finna finish you now. Here's your funeral. All the bulletin board material. And the Miami Heat aren't stupid.
No.
They know exactly what you're doing. And they go out there and they beat you in Game 5 of the finals. So I'm with you on that. Like, just go out there and wear the purple jerseys or the white jerseys or the gold. Or why don't you, if you really want to pay homage to the Los Angeles Lakers, why don't you just wear the flipping gold jerseys like they've been wearing for 5 million years? And let's stop trying to do all this color coordinating crap and just go out there and win a basketball game instead of doing all, like you said, the added pressures by doing all. If you want to do it for Gianna and Kobe, that's fine. How about we say that after you win the game,
exactly,
and not before the game even starts? So then the Miami Heat's gonna say, "Look, we love Kobe too, but watch this, we just won Game 5."
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a difficult thing to talk about because I don't want to throw shade at the Lakers. I'm not trying to throw shade at LeBron or AD or anybody, but there is such thing of getting ahead of yourselves, right? It's like you can't put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and you got to figure out a game plan because now whether or not their intention was to look like they were like, oh, this series is done, let's wear the black Mamba jerseys and celebrate in them. And again, the story writes itself, Nick. Like you're gonna have a really nice, amazing novel that you can write here in 20 years about this moment. But the thing is, you have to get it done first. And it seems like LeBron, I wouldn't say he was passive, but I think what he was trying to do early on in that game was go, okay, KCP, get yours. Okay, Danny, get yours. Okay, Markieff, get yours. To a certain extent, and I don't blame him for that last shot. I think that was, again, just another silly, there's always going to be something with LeBron, right? There's always going to be that he didn't do that or he didn't do this. And at the end of the day, he can't control that. But I think one thing he can control is next game, I think we see the Cleveland versus Golden State LeBron, where it's like, okay, nobody wants to do this with me. I'll just do it myself then, I guess. So that's what I think. I think you'll try. I think the goal for the Lakers yesterday was to try and put up 40 in the first quarter and really just blow up any hope that the Heat had. And it actually was the opposite. The Heat came out on top, and AD had that early injury, and then AD comes back, and he wasn't the same person. So I think the Lakers are going to try and do that again tomorrow. I think it's going to be like all hands on deck in the first quarter. Let's try and get as high of a lead as we can so that we can kind of ride it out in the second half.
Right. Agree with you on that.
Okay. Let's jump to Thursday then in the funeral processions.
You know what? No, save Thursday.
Save Thursday. Okay. Let's actually talk
into yesterday.
Yeah, let's jump into yesterday
because it's still fresh in my head. We'll get into Thursday.
Don't worry. I have plenty for you on Thursday. Let's do yesterday.
But so we all know that the Rays beat the Yankees yesterday 2-1.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to wrap my head around what exactly can the New York Yankees do to finally get over this hump? Because a lot of the consensus is, well, we just got to fire Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone's making mistakes and he's doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I put up something after the Yankees lost Game 3 by something that A-Rod said, and everyone's like, well, A-Rod's a terrible commentator, blah, 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 blah. But he wasn't wrong in this next statement where he said, we used to have a saying where that we have to start taking the managers out of the game and just let the players play and let them pitch and whatnot. He said in the Yankees case, they need to get the front office out of the game and maybe let Aaron Boone just make his own decisions. Because what killed the Yankees yesterday, there was a lot of things that killed them. But the number one thing that they did wrong that the Yankees would have never done if George Steinbrenner was still alive, and that's trying to play chess with a chess master. The Tampa Bay Rays, I'm not trying to say that the Tampa Bay Rays suck. I'm just saying in my heart of hearts, I believe that the New York Yankees are much better. But they can't be better when you're taking a team that's not meant to play chess and you're trying to play chess with them. Because then that team that's meant to play chess is going to whoop your ass, and that's exactly what they did with us. Case in point, in game 2, you make all this hype up about how you're going to start Davy Garcia. So you let him come out. He gives up 1 run. He ties the game. And then you bring him in for old-ass flipping J. Happ, who pitched like crap. So then what was the whole point of bringing in Davy Garcia? Why? Because Aaron Boone and the New York Yankee front office thought they were slick and were going to be like, we'll tell them that we're going to start this righty. But then we'll bring in our crafty lefty. So then maybe if they have to make moves, you don't think Kevin Cash didn't know that?
Right. He was ready.
You think he was that stupid? You think that he legit was going to be like, wow, so the New York Yankees starting pitching is that bad that they're going to bring out a 21-year-old kid that's never been in the playoffs? Okay, let's just in case if they try to be slick, let's figure something out. And the next thing you know, here's J. Happ, and you played right into the Rays' hands. Okay? And we'll get into the umpiring in a little bit. But then in game 3, it was the same old nonsense. And then game 4, they finally went out. The Rays go with the opener, and Jordan Montgomery actually saved the Yankee season for one more day. But then what bothered me the most about it was that Aaron Boone couldn't wait to get Jordan Montgomery out of the game. This is the same guy that walked 2 guys in the second inning and then got out of that second inning the way he did. Let the kids pitch. You can't play chess with chess masters with a team that's not built for chess. The New York Yankees is not a team that's built to make chess moves.
Right.
We're out there to beat and bully. And when you don't have that mentality, when you're trying to play the analytics game with a team that's built to be bullies, you're not going to have success. So at some point, the Yankees are going to – see, that's why Joe Girardi got fired. Joe Girardi didn't get fired from the Yankees like Mike Francesa's old stupid dumbass came out and said, oh, well, the reason why they fired Joe Girardi because they needed a new voice. No, it was because they wanted to do analytics and Joe Girardi wasn't hearing that nonsense. He's like, why would I want to go do analytics when we had just had a young team that went to Game 7 of the ALCS and no one even expected us to be here? So why are we going to go to analytics? And sure enough, they brought in Aaron Boone, and all the analytics has done for us at best is the same exact thing that would have been done under Joe Girardi. So my problem is with this. First, the Yankees are going to need to re-sign DJ LeMahieu. But the Yankees have a lot of questions that they need to answer. First off, get rid of Gary Sanchez. I'm sick of that. If the announcers can tell you that a man sitting on one knee as a catcher is not going to be as good defensively, then get him out of the goddamn game.
Right. There's a reason. There's a reason why catchers set up that way, right? Because they're ready for anything when it comes to the pitch. And Wilson Contreras does that too. And I know Gary Sanchez does that a lot. You can't have that type of stance as a defensive catcher.
No, you can't. And for some reason, the Yankee brass thinks that might be the way to help Gary Sanchez. No, it's actually hurting the team. Okay? You can tell that the pitching staff was more comfortable with Higashioka than it was with Gary Sanchez.
Right.
So while Gary Sanchez is young and might still have some value, along with Miguel Andujar, get them out of there. Either you play the kids or we get them out of there. There is no in between. Why you took Kyle Higashioka out for Mike Ford for him to strike out and he only swing the bat one time in that entire count is an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Why the Yankees thought that it was okay in Game 5 to go out with the mentality that all we're going to do is just hit home runs and not try and scrap against a team that's scrapping is why we lost.
Yeah.
And another thing that Yankee fans need to stop doing is stop giving this free pass to Aaron Judge. Because if Aaron Judge would have played the same way that if John Carlos Stanton would have played the same way Aaron Judge did in his DS, they would have wanted John Carlos' head on an absolute platter, fed with vegetables, and told, we don't want him, we need him out of here, blah, 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 blah. Aaron Judge, outside of the home run he hit yesterday, was crap at the plate all series long, and Aaron Judge needs to be called out for it. The Yankees need a new identity, bro, because at the end of the day, the Rays and the Blue Jays, and at some point the Orioles, I don't even count the Red Sox because they blow ass. But between those three teams and the young talent they have, dude, they're going to blow right past us because we're still trying to be home run swinging bullies, and they're being scrappy. And, dude, the home run bully game, it's not going to get you anywhere if you don't have scrap.
Yeah. And ask the Cubs how the home run game works out for them the last couple of years. It's like home run or bust never works. And
no.
And also I thought you made a great point that you can play chess if you want to. But you have to remember you go off of your opponent. And Kevin Cash and the Tampa Bay Rays have made a living off of playing chess and have basically structured this team around that. The lineup that they have, you look at some of the names and you go, I don't know what that guy can or can't do. And next thing you know, they have a 300 hitting season. They're one of the best disciplined teams as far as at the plate is concerned. And you saw it with that at bat against Chapman. Chapman throws 10 pitches. 8 of which were tremendous pitches, but that last pitch goes out the yard. And if you're, I feel bad for Chapman because if, it seems like every time he gives up a home run like that, he just smiles because he's like, what the fuck can I do about that? Because he's doing everything he can to overpower the hitter. But when the hitter is crafty and just getting the bat on the ball and just, being smart about the approach and then hits one on the barrel like that and it goes out of the park, you have to tip your cap if you're Chapman because that's not on Chapman. At the end of the day, listen, you would want Chapman out there with the lead. You don't want Chapman out there with the tie, right? You want Chapman to be able, you want Chapman to be able to close down the game, not maintain the game. And I think the Yankees, they were hoping for a miracle. Okay, Chapman, you're our gas guy, you're our closer. Buy us some time until we get some runs, and that doesn't always work.
As guess what? It's screwed us over the last 2 years. And that was another thing that was kind of making me mad this morning as I was thinking about it. I'm like, why? Aroldis Chapman is the type of pitcher where he's not a multiple inning save kind of guy.
Right.
He's a guy that has to come in with nobody on base, fresh out of the pen, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for what it's worth, I don't want to include 2016, but I have to because it ties in with the point. But we're now in 2020. You go back to 2016. So that means in 3 of the last 5 years, in big game moments, Aroldis Chapman has either given up a game-tying home run or he's given up a walk-off home run or a go-ahead home run. Because in 2016, he gave up the game-tying home run to Rajai Davis. Last year, he gave up the walk-off home run to Altuve. And then this year, you give up the go-ahead home run that leads to the Rays going to the ALCS. He's not that kind of pitcher.
Yeah.
So, again, if I'm Aaron Boone or if I'm Brian Cashman, for that matter, either you need to find you another bullpen guy that needs to that can fill in that hole. And what even bothers me the most out of all this is in both instances of last year and this year, you were technically the away team. So why are you bringing your closer in the ninth when you might need him later on?
Right.
You can't bring in Chapman in the ninth when, as the away team, when DJ LeMahieu just hits a huge 2-run home run to tie the game up. That's what your 7th inning guy is for. That's what your 8th inning guy is for.
Yeah.
You save your closer for the later on. Yesterday, he was so eager to get Garrett Cole out of the game. Right. Garrett Cole made one loud out, and that was the play that Gardner had to make to save the game at 1-1. Okay, we got to get him out to bring in Zach Britton. No, let him finish the inning. Then bring in Zach Britton, another guy who is a former closer, who should come into the game as a he's going to come into the game as a fresh, no one's on base. He can be crafty. He can do work. There's no pressure on him, no nothing. And again, Aaron Boone was trying to keep up with the Rays and what the Rays was doing because it was working. You're not that kind of team.
No.
You see what happened is, bro. Aaron Boone looked at the LCS instead of staying in the DS.
Right.
He was saying, okay, Garrett Cole's only on 3 days rest. He has 91 pitches, even though he's still hitting the gun at 97. Let's not factor that part in. But he's at 91 pitches. Okay, we got to save him for game 3 of the LCS. No, you need to use him now in the DS, and we'll figure about the CS when we get there.
Yeah.
The now, Aaron Boone. Focus on the now.
Yep, especially when you're one loss away from being eliminated. You have to throw everything else out the window, and that's where, honestly, Nick, analytics can get in the way, because analytics tells you, well, who's your best high leverage guy? Oh, that's our closer. Okay, you put him in this situation. When as a baseball manager, if you're Aaron Boone, you got to think, okay, well, I have Zach Britton, okay, but I also have, Adam Ottavino. There's some other high leverage guys that you could have brought in. If they would have given up the home run, okay, it is what it is. We did what we could. But when the analytics show you, oh no, you need to bring in your closer, you need to bring in your best high leverage guy. Let's say best case scenario, Nick, the game remains tied. The Yankees take the lead, and now you need another 3 outs from that guy who just went and pitched, closer to 20-something pitches. So, I think overall, listen, there's a lot of improvement to go around when it comes to the Yankees, but they weren't far off, and it just shows. It shows, and I know you're going to hate to do this, but it shows that we have to give credit to Tampa Bay a little bit about what they've been able to do with such a let's be honest, Nick. I think Garrett Cole makes more than the whole. I think his contract is worth more than the whole roster of the Rays. I think when you take into consideration the fact that Tampa Bay has to play chess, they have to have Harvard level analytic guys in the front office, because they don't have the salary cap or let's say the well to go to if they need to go out and get free agents. And we see it time and time again that they're always able to find these guys that they can bring in the 7th and 8th and 9th who have arm side run 97, 98, 99, 100 miles an hour at some points. And they have it seems like the running trend among the teams that were in the ALDS was all of them had rock out bullpens, and that they could just bring in the bullpen, and that bullpen can win them the game. And Tampa Bay did that because let's be honest, the Yankees beat up Snell when they had a chance to beat up Snell. They've beaten up guys like, all these other pitchers that the Glass now and all these other pitchers that the Tampa Bay has. It's not that, like, the Yankees haven't beat them up in the past. It's just simply making those minor adjustments. Okay, you know what? I know that we used to pitch Gary Sanchez this way. Let's throw him something a little bit different now. Or, it's those little things. But the thing is, Aaron Boone can't do that because Aaron Boone is working with what he's working with. You've got a huge, there's a reason why you gave Garrett Cole that contract. He's a tremendous pitcher, so that's why you do it. So, when you're looking at Tampa Bay, you have to almost tip your cap and say, okay, and I'm glad you mentioned it because teams like Toronto was scary late in the season. A lot of people were like, we don't want to play that team. They've got all the young bats, and for some reason, they can also beat you in the bullpen as well. So, yeah, you got some competition, and as does my team too, and I think both of our teams now have to sort of look forward into this offseason and say, what type of pieces can we add? That's not going to be $100 million pieces. We're not looking for, blow you out the water pieces. Let's bring 4 or 5 pieces to this team that can help us win next season.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. Like I literally have been sitting here in this kitchen while I was cleaning it, like thinking, like, dude, what can the Yankees really do to improve this team next year? What can we do? Like, can we? Like, it's easy to say, well, I can trade or I can move Luke or we're going to sign DJ LeMahieu, move him over to first. But we need, I'm still feeling like the Yankees need table setters. The mindset of everyone trying to hit the home run is it's killing us. We need table setters. We have a guy like Tyler Wade that, oh, by the way, there's another guy that pisses me off. Freaking Brett Gardner. Here's a guy that gets on base. He's supposed to be like our base stealer. He's supposed to be this and that. And when the Yankees get on base, there's no movement. No one's trying to steal bases. No one's putting pressure on the pitcher. None of that stuff. And I'm like, dude, why is every team doing that to us, but we can't do that to other teams?
Yeah.
We're just stationary to stationary to stationary. And the Yankees can't be that team. At some point, you have to keep up with the Joneses. And the Yankees have to be that team. I don't like Aaron Judge batting second. No. I would rather LeMahieu bat second. Yeah. Why can't we have a fast guy like Tyler Wade, who, oh, by the way, is really good defensively at second base? Let's get this kid some tick. Let's get him out there on the field. Because nothing against Luke Voigt, and I like Luke Voigt, but my problem with Luke is this. In the last couple of playoffs, he's coming to playoffs hurt. He was hurt again in this playoffs, having a bad foot. The man can barely run. And he only had one significant hit in the playoffs, and that was the home run in Game 4.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the Yankees are going to have to figure out something. They're going to have to get some table setters. They got some real good guys out there. I think Clint Frazier's another one.
Yeah.
The Yankees have kids, but they don't want to play kids.
Right.
You got to play these kids. Okay,
Yeah.
We can't keep – if this was George Steinbrenner's team, of course there's going to be 30-year-olds up the wazoo. But if you're trying to change with the game, you got to play with some of these guys that got speed.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the Rays, look at how the Blue Jays play.
Mm-hmm.
They're scrappy.
Right.
Vlad Guerrero Jr., the younger Bichette, the younger Biggio. They got some real scrappy guys. If the Toronto Blue Jays ever came together with a decent pitching staff,
Right.
they would be in the mix. The Baltimore Orioles suck huge ass over the last couple of years. But they have some talent down there too. And as soon as they can get out of Chris Davis's contract, they can make some moves.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Sox, I think, are in the position where they've made so many bad deals and bad plays in the past that it's going to be a while before they can catch up. But the Yankees, you're going to do what you can to stay at the top, or you're going to look at these teams leapfrog.
Right.
And the first thing we need to do is take the chains off Aaron Boone and let's let Aaron Boone do his thing. And if Aaron Boone sucks, then we can let him go and find somebody else.
So you think he survives? You think he survives this one and is the manager next year?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he survives this one, but if the Yankees don't make the World Series next year, he's out.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
100%. And the expectation, I mean, there's a reason why you guys went out and got Garrett Cole as aggressively as you did, right? It's like, you guys know that the window for winning is right now. And also, I'm glad you mentioned Aaron Judge, too, because we speak about like in the Lakers how they have so many guys who do the same thing, and that's one thing that I'm worried about with the Yankees too. You've got too many guys who can do the same thing, and I think it's a very good point that you said the table setters are important, and it's no secret that the teams that had that success this year, the scrappy success, were hit and running, very, very aggressive on the base pass, going from first to third on base hits, waving guys in from third base. These are things that you have to be able to do, and you have to have the speed to do it. But what happens is when you got guys like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, who, with all due respect, they have to hit the ball hard in order to be effective. And if you're not hitting the ball hard, you don't have the chance to run out infield singles or make, these next level type plays. So I think, to put it in a little bit of an archaic sense, you need a Kenny Lofton type guy. You need a guy who could just slap the ball to right field, get on base, and give you a speed on the base pass that you can, you can work with. So, lots of moves to be made for the Yankees. And I mean, listen, pretty much every single team that's been eliminated from the postseason this year, it's not for lack of talent. It seems like the game has progressed a little bit into, we're going to beat you this way, and Tampa Bay had that mentality the whole series. They didn't seem frazzled by losing the games early in the postseason, and it just seemed like Tampa Bay was ready. And it's going to be I'll be honest with you, it's going to be a tough matchup for them against Houston too, because Houston does have that varied attack. They're not just trying to hit everything out of the park, and that's why, again, when you look at them cheating, it's even more egregious, because they do have the talent to do it otherwise. But it seems like now they're going to be stuck in this hole for quite a while, and I don't think fans like us are going to let them out of that hole for any time soon. So I'll be rooting for the Tampa Bay Rays to spank the Astros in this series.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm looking at first off, both CSs are really good.
Oh yeah.
I think Tampa and Houston are almost borderline mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
And then you look at the NLCS, you got the almighty Dodgers, but I feel like the Atlanta Braves are almost Tampa Bay Ray-ish. They got a lot of really good young talent that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Mm-hmm. And I feel that they're going to give the Dodgers a run for their money, because, I know Atlanta beat up on the Marlins, but I know they beat Cincinnati and they beat the Marlins. But you cannot scoff at the fact that not only is Atlanta 5-0, but Atlanta in 4 of those games shut out between Cincinnati and the Marlins.
Wow.
Dude, that's impressive. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to do it against the Dodgers. The Dodgers offense, we know, is absolutely amazing. But I think, the Atlanta Braves, I think, are the most slept on team between these guys and Brian goes, Cole leaves the Yanks and Houston goes further in the playoffs. That's insane. It's not really that insane.
No.
It's not that insane at all. First of all, Houston had a better matchup against the A's than we did against the Rays. I think, first of all, and I'll be the first to say this, I think the White Sox should have taken the A's out.
100%.
So I don't think that the A's were that good. But I think another thing, too, is, and it's hard for me to take Brian seriously, because he's a Mets fan and he hates the New York Yankees, so he would come up with such a dumbass stat for him to come out and say that. But my problem is that that you can go ahead and say that now, but I'm telling you, next year, if the Yankees can stay healthy, because remember, we lost Paxton this year, we lost Severino this year, and Tanaka is a free agent after this year, and Trevor Bauer is already out tweeting, talking about the Yankees could use some extra starting pitching.
He's ours. So hands off of Bauer. He's going to be the White Sox's. I need him. I'm sorry.
If anyone needs him, it's the New York Mets.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the Mets do, because I like the fact that they brought in Steve Cohen, a guy that would actually care about the squad. And here's another thing too, while I'm on the subject of that, I read something on ESPN where they said that Steve Cohen's number one thing that he should do is pry Brian Cashman away from the Yankees and have him be GM of the Mets. Money talks when it comes to that, but I'll tell you what, if that happens, and if somehow Cohen does pull that off, you're going to see a lot of Yankee fans that might be actually pretty happy about that, because it's a lot of Yankee fans are upset with Cash, with the simple fact that they feel like maybe he dropped the ball and whatnot. But I was listening to the game on the radio yesterday, and I guess both CSs, no team has a day off. And what idiot decided that was going to be a great idea to have these guys play 5 games in a row, and now you're going to go to a CS that's 7 games in a row? You're going to tell me that Petco and Globe Life couldn't been like, hey, yo, man, if y'all need to use the field, just use the flipping field, and can't give these guys a day off in between?
Yeah, and their excuse is that, oh, well, you don't have to travel, so you don't need the day off. Well, the day off isn't about the travel. It's about rest. It's about, making sure that you're 100%. And, yeah, I don't understand that either. I think from what I understand right now, baseball is just, like, happy and just very ecstatic the fact that this is still going on. I think they were, remember, early in the season, man, we didn't know if we were going to get to this point, right? So the MLB brass has to be happy with the fact that, okay, we did it. They see some of the struggles the NFL is having right now with, positive tests coming here and there and possibly, ruining some scheduling stuff. So I think the MLB has to be happy. But overall, I was pissed off too, because I think what happens is you're going to have a really tired team no matter who wins that series. You're going to have a really tired team going into the next series.
Exactly. But nonetheless, though, as much as my Yankees are out, I still think that the CS on both sides, just intriguing matchups. And ultimately, and this is going to kill me to say this, but I'd love to see the Rays take on the Braves in the World Series.
That would be nice
I got it's something about Atlanta and that young crew, because first of all, I think we're seeing a stud and a star in the making, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, man.
That kid is something serious.
Yeah.
And I think just based on excitement, I think the Rays and the Braves, the way that they carry themselves, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. Is there any way that the Yankees can get back to having fun playing baseball?
Yeah.
Is there any way? Do I feel like we're like this business firm that the guys might as well just wear suits and ties while they're sitting there? While the Rays are over in their bullpen having fun and cheering each other on, we're just sitting there looking like bumps on the log, like flipping idiots.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I felt like it was wrong for us to let Didi go. If you go back to the year we went to the ALCS was 2017.
2017, yeah.
That's the year when we had Todd Frazier, and that's the year that they were playing the Mets, and that big guy was giving them the thumbs down.
Oh, yeah.
And the Yankees used that as the war cry.
Right.
And it took a team that wasn't supposed to go to the ALCS all the way to Game 7 of the ALCS.
Yeah.
The Yankees don't have that anymore.
Right.
It's all just station to station, business to business, no fun, no nothing. And when you let Didi Gregorius go because you're so gung-ho to put Gleyber Torres in shortstop, who, oh, by the way, had an error in yesterday's game and didn't play that well defensively at shortstop this year.
Yeah. He's a second baseman. He's a second baseman. Yeah.
Easily. And Didi's only on a 1-year contract. So if I'm the New York Yankees, take your L's, call Didi, be like, hey, man, look, I apologize for letting you go. I don't know what we were thinking.
My bad.
Please come back. And it should be a wrap.
Can I do you one better? Because I've been calling this for almost a year plus. I think Frankie Lindor is going to go to the Yankees. I really do. I think Cleveland, after the way that this season ended, I think they have a really hard time bringing back Frankie Lindor on that long of a contract and that high of a commitment. And it's funny you mentioned it because that guy is all smiles and all fun all the time. And I think that would be a really, really nice pickup for them because we just talked about it. Then you can move Gleyber back to his natural position, and you'd have, LeMahieu at first, Voit DHing occasionally, and you already know Urshela is going to be your third baseman of the future here. So I think because the Yankees, listen, let's be honest, they can shell out the money for him. It's not the issue, right? The issue is that, is this going to fit on the team? Are we going to be able to, match the analytics with the money? But at the end of the day, that makes so much sense to me. Switch hitter in that ballpark, a guy who can, he's not a guy who can run, but he's a guy who can get on base and be a energetic guy on base. That would be a huge pickup for the Yankees.
I'm all for it. And we have some pieces that we can trade over there. Like if they need a DH, we definitely have a Gary Sanchez that can help you out.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm mentioning, I'm gonna Google it, but I think he's unrestricted this year. I think that was why there was a huge sort of big thing about an extension from the Indians last year, is because he signed an arbitration deal this year, which is only a 1-year deal. So he made big money this year. But as far as I know, yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent here coming up. So there's going to be a lot of and listen, even if the Yankees have to. I know he's arbitration eligible again this year, but even if the Yankees have to blow them out of the water, which they can because Cleveland can't pay that either way, right. I still think that's a great pickup for them because you won't have to give up any pieces, and you pay money. And we talked about it, I think, before. The Yankees are going to have some money coming off the books this year. I mean, Tanaka is likely not to come back. Right. I think there's a couple of different guys that you can say, okay, we'll replace them with Frankie, and you can move right along. And I think he brings you maybe that 1 or 2 guy. He's not necessarily a leadoff hitter, but he's a really good number 2 hitter, and especially good because he's a switch hitter. So you can put him in at 2. You can put Judge, Giancarlo, Voit, anybody you want after him, and it's going to make for better pitches for that player. So yeah, I think that would be a huge pickup for the Yankees, and we'll be tracking that pretty heavily because both of our teams, I think, are going to be involved in free agency this year. Hopefully the White Sox get a right fielder, another starting pitcher, and maybe another bullpen guy. So yeah, there's lots and lots of movement to be made, but I think Frankie Lindor would be nice for the Yankees.
I'm with that. I'm with all that. Man, right. Dude.
I mean, listen, the Yankees at this point, you can't be too mad, right? The team obviously had World Series aspirations, but and one thing we didn't mention, Nick, because I think we don't want to be too complaining on this show naturally, but you and I have been talking about robot umpires and how bad these umpires have been.
Oh God,
all
yes.
playoffs long. Because I mean, during the playoff series with the wild card series with the A's and the White Sox, there was a couple different calls that completely changed the makeup of the game, and all it takes is just one dumbass like CB Buckner or Angel Hernandez, or some of these idiots who somehow, it's crazy because we have a graphic. We literally have a graphic on the TV with a strike zone on it, and every pitch either says K or not K. Have you noticed that? When the ball goes in, it'll show you K. That means it swiped the strike zone enough to be considered a strike. And it seems like this year, the umpires were saying, you know what? We're gonna call those not strikes just to say fuck you, the robot umpires, and fuck you to the system, because they have been so consistently bad. And not only that, one thing I will say, and I've said this before, if you're going to be terrible, be consistently terrible. If you're going to call a strike 3 inches above the strike zone, make sure you keep that same energy in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Do not start calling those balls when in the 3rd and 4th inning they were strikes. And that's what we're seeing. And it seems that there's no accountability left for these guys. Angel Hernandez has been so bad, but the league is just, I don't know, he's suing us. Maybe we should, let's let him go in the World Series. So this guy's going to be in the World Series. He's going to be more than likely umpiring in the biggest games of the season because the MLB has no backbone. I think it's time for these robots, man.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. And look no further than Game 2 of the Rays-Yankee series. CB Buckner was behind the plate. He was equally bad for both of us. In the 8th inning, Gleyber Torres took a ball 4. I'm talking about, bro, this ball was 3 inches above the corner, the upper corner, and he called it a strike. And that whole Yankee bullpen was screaming at him. And then there was another one too, where who was it? Because it was J-Hap. J-Hap had thrown a pitch. It was right on the corner for strike 3, according to strike zone. And J-Hap threw his arms out like, dude, where did that miss? And CB's going to say, well, it was inside. The K-Zone said it was a strike, bro. I'm like, the same pitches in game 1 for both sides that were not being called strikes 2 inches off the edge of the zone were all of a sudden being called strikes against CB Buckner. And the one pitch that really shifted the entire series, if you go to game 3, Luke Voigt takes a 3-0 pitch that, according to strike zone, was low, and he called that a strike. The same pitch an inning later that Tanaka threw was called a ball on a strike him out, throw him out. That leads to a 3-run homer from Kiermaier.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said, the robot umpires. I'm all for it. Let's push it. I will literally tweet that move. What's the idiot's name? Rob Manfred.
Yeah.
And say, you need to get this figured out. Because Angel Hernandez suing Major League Baseball because he's saying that he feels that minorities are getting unfairly treated in Major League Baseball is arguably the biggest joke in all of baseball lawsuits. You're not getting, again, and I've said this again before on this show, you are not being discriminated because you're Hispanic or CB Buckner is black or Laz Diaz is Hispanic. Those 3 names right there all flipping suck.
They're just bad. Yeah, they're just bad.
you could put in dumbass Joe West on that list.
Yeah, please. No mask wearing Joe West.
All you guys are old ass garbage.
Yeah. And that's another thing that really bothers me, Nick, and I don't want to sound like a dickhead by saying this, but can we get some younger dudes in there? Can we get some guys who are maybe previous players? You know, I don't understand why we have to have dinosaurs behind the plate every single fucking game. I mean, yes. Laz Diaz, to me, is a perfect example of a guy who just wants to be the center of attention. When he rings you up, he gives you that, yeah, you know, because he just wants to be on the TV. He wants to be on ESPN. He wants to be on SportsCenter, and it's so obvious. And I feel bad for him. I feel bad for other umpires, rather, because there are other umpires who do their job really well, take it very seriously, and don't want to be the center of attention. You know, a perfect example of that is there's guys who you go out, you take one step out of the dugout, and they're throwing you out of the game because they know it's going to get them on the camera. And then there's other guys who say, you know what, this is baseball. This is literally a game where we have to communicate with each other. So if they want to come out and yell at me for 30 seconds, they're allowed to do that, and I'm going to let them go back and sit in the dugout. So we have to have some sort of accountability, Nick. That's the big thing for me. Accountability has to be there, meaning if I'm an umpire and I have a really bad game, there has to be some sort of meeting that I have with somebody that goes through those pitches and says, listen, this was a really bad call, Laz, or this was a really terrible call, Angel, because they can't do that shit in the future. You can't continuously cost teams wins or runs or strikes, and that's the big thing about this, is that's how minute the differences are in this game. All you need is that one ball that was supposed to be a ball but was a strike to kind of carry you forward. And the lack of accountability means they can continuously make these mistakes and nothing will happen about it.
Yep. And that's why you saw, like, in the little action that Gary Sanchez had, you saw him very visibly getting very upset because he was taking it, and because Sanchez was in game 2 over against CB Buckner. So he'll take a ball on the outside that's 2 inches off the plate, and it's called a ball, so he'll be like, okay, fine. But then he takes the same exact pitch that's 2 inches off the plate and it's called a strike, and you don't know why he walked off the plate upset. Right. It's because you suck balls, dude. That was literally a ball 2 minutes ago. How is it a strike 2 minutes later? Right. Like, it doesn't make sense, and I'm with you, dude. All these guys are just basically out there because of the contribution they've given to baseball and how long they've been out there. dude, you're old, you can't see, you're senile, put it up. Let Major League Baseball give you a nice little severance package and just call it a career, because you knew that Angel Hernandez was going to be total ass the rest of this year. Go all the way back to the first game of the season. Garrett Cole threw a slider 3 inches off the plate and called that bad boy strike 3. I immediately went on Facebook and said, I see that Angel Hernandez is in midseason form, because that was not a strike. Even I can admit that wasn't a strike. Even Garrett Cole looked at him and was like, okay, bro, I guess. I mean, we'll just take it. I mean, dude, that's how you know you suck, even when the pitcher knew it was a ball. And you call it a strike, and he's just like, okay, I guess. I'm just saying, dude, like, I'm with you. The robot umpires need to come, because I feel like some of these matchups, and I'm not gonna sit here and just feel like I'm crying about the Yankees. Dude, the Rays took some serious L's in that CB Buckner game too. One of those led to Giancarlo Stanton hitting a 3-run home run themselves. It's got to stop.
It has to stop. And honestly, Nick, not to be too dramatic about it, but I don't know if you remember, but the White Sox played the Twins in a home series, and Josh Donaldson had a couple of really bad pitches called against him, and then he hits a home run. And then when he comes around the bases, he stomps on home base, and he starts kicking dirt on it, and he gets ejected from the game. And after the game, he was asked about it, and he was very, very serious about it. He said, listen, this is our livelihood. If you, as an umpire, are missing that many calls, you're fucking with our livelihood. If I don't get this hit and I hit under 250, I may be cut. You may be costing somebody a job because of your, lack of consistency. So I thought that was a great point, and unfortunately, it seems like it's falling on deaf ears, because the MLB has an allegiance to the umpires, because the umpires are somehow linked to the Players Association, but the Players Association doesn't necessarily, represent them, but at the same time they do. It's a mess right now, and I think the only way that we see the robot umpires is if the umpires agree to it, meaning like the umpires themselves say, okay, we'll be the first base umpire, second base umpire, third base umpire, and at home plate we'll just relay the calls. I have a hard time finding it, because I think it's an ego thing, Nick. I don't think Laz Diaz wants to be the guy who is hearing it in the headphones and telling you what to do. He wants to be the guy that you're hanging on every single movement of his, because if he clenches his fist and he's about to pull it, he wants to be able to be the center of attention. So that's what really bothers me about this, is that there's going to be so much red tape and so much bullshit that we have to go through between now and the robot umpires, that it's going to take a monumental collapse. Let's say in the World Series, for example, where a guy like Laz Diaz or Angel Hernandez has an absolutely terrible game, and it's going to take like this collective effort for everyone to say, hey, you're ruining baseball, we need to change this. And I think that's the only way that Rob Manfred steps in, to be quite honest.
Rob Manfred needs to get off his ass and step in now.
Just move on it, Rob. Move on it. Yeah. So we've got a really, really nice couple of CS series. So we'll definitely jump into those next week. Let's jump into some football, Nick, because we are.
God, I don't want to talk about this either.
We're running a little bit short on time, so I just want to get right into this, because we got to get into our previews as well. But the Bucs game and the Bears game on Thursday night, Bears come out on top. It was a closely contested game. I think the Bucs pretty much had the first quarter and a half, and the Bears took advantage of a really... I wouldn't say it was controversial. I'll ask you your opinion about this later, but the Kyle Fuller hit on Keyshawn Vaughn look on the replay to be a fumble, but in real time, maybe, I don't know, it was a tough call to make, but they gave it to the Bears. The Bears get the ball back in the red zone, and they end up scoring and leading in the game coming out of halftime. And it seemed like the Bucs coming into the second half lost a little bit of their mojo from the first half, especially the offensive line. And you and I had gone back and forth about the Ryan Jensen, and I know that Bruce Arians loves loves Ryan Jensen because of the grittiness and the, this guy just brings, the pure grit. But he made some really boneheaded plays, and Tom Brady got on his ass, and as he should have. But the Bucs come up short. What were your overall thoughts about the game?
Well, first off, let's talk about that play on Keyshawn Vaughn. The hit was clean.
Hit was clean, right?
So the fact that they picked up the flag on the clean hit, I was all for that. I still thought it was an incomplete pass because it didn't look like Keyshawn Vaughn had control of the football. It looked like it was still moving, but they felt he caught it and went to make a football move, and it ended up being a fumble, and then the Bears took advantage of it. I think what ended up killing Tampa was, believe it or not, I blame a lot of this on between Bruce and Byron Leftwich. Yeah. And the reason why I say this is because these two have to, at some point, learn that you can't always win games with Tom Brady, per se. The Buccaneers were running the ball at will.
Yeah, Ronald Jones looked like Walter Payton. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, Ronald Jones was going up the middle at will on the Bears defense.
Yeah.
And knocked up some big time killer runs. The minute we get into the red zone, instead of just sticking with the run, this is typical Tampa Bay. What they'll do is they'll run the ball for 45 yards, get a 45-yard run. They'll run it one more time. If they don't get more than 4 yards from that run, it's automatic 3 more passes. No. How about you get on your offensive line and say block, and then maybe, we can get some more runs. Dude, Ronald Jones was having a field day.
Yeah.
But nope, that's not what they did. Instead, they're like, okay, we got to abandon the run completely. Now we're going to go out and we're going to just throw the ball with Tom Brady. And it wasn't working because Tom had – when you lose O.J. Howard the way they did, and then you're really only using Gronk as a blocking tight end, even though Gronk really had some spectacular catches in that game.
Yeah.
He, in my opinion, is really the blocking tight end of the offense. So now you're depending on Cameron Brate, who's really only a good tight end in the red zone.
Right.
So that's why O.J. Howard was really missed. But I think also too, the defense got hit with some bad calls. The roughing the passer on Shaq Barrett was a joke.
Yeah, the one where the Bears were backed up and it seemed like it was it was third down. He threw the incompletion. I didn't see it either. I think that's one of those, Nick, where in real time it looks like his helmet hits Foles' helmet, but when you watch it, it doesn't. So, I wasn't sure if they were calling it contact on the helmet, but yeah, I agree that wasn't a roughing the passer, and that was huge. You're right, because that was third down. That would have meant that the Bears had to punt the ball back in their own end zone, basically.
Exactly, because then what ends up happening? Yes, we stopped the Bears, but then O'Donnell makes a solid punt. Now the Bucs are at their own 10,
right?
And instead, if you don't make that roughing the passer call, now you may be on your own 40 or maybe on your own 30. You have better field position to make better play calls than when you're on your own 10.
Right.
And I feel, that's one thing that's been killing Tampa Bay this year is the offense has yet to put together 3 solid. You're not always going to get 4 solid quarters of offense. There's always going to be that one quarter.
Yeah.
But it's either the first half or it's the second half.
Yeah.
I can't ever get we struggled in the first quarter, but we snapped off the second 3. Or I can never get we snapped off the first 3 quarters, but we took some steps back in the fourth because we were winning big. You can never get that with this offense. And I think it caught up to them because first off, as I'm thinking about it, the Bears almost gave the Buccaneers this game when
they threw it on second down.
Yeah, you throw it on second down and basically just gave Tampa Bay free timeout.
Matt Nagy he was like, you know what? I don't want to win this game. How about you guys take this one?
Exactly.
Also, though, I do want to mention though, because I don't want to get off of it, that the Brady drive that he came off yelling, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Ronald Jones had just busted a 37-yard run, and they had gotten into Bears territory, and you're like, okay, we're great, and then boom, now all of a sudden 4 plays later, it's 1st and 30 or 1st and 25 or whatever. So I think that's
about that.
Yeah, that's a good
point.
Let's
talk about that, because you're right. Jones busts off the big run, so now they're at midfield, but then I think Kappa got hit with holding.
First one, no, it was actually Donovan Smith was a false start for the first one, I believe. So it's 1st and 15,
which is nothing new.
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Which is nothing new. And let me and we're gonna get back to that. First off, anyone that's like, oh, look at Khalil Mack through Tristan Wirfs. First off, Tristan Wirfs was on one leg. He wasn't even balanced, and Khalil Mack couldn't do that to Wirfs on his best day if he even tried.
I don't know.
Piss off.
Man.
Second off, everyone trying to give Khalil Mack all this credit. He was owning Tom Brady in that game. Dude, I could go against Donovan Smith and sack Tom Brady 5. Donovan Smith sucks my absolute balls, dude. He's garbage. He's terrible. He's horrible. And I've been crying to get him off of Tampa all flipping year.
You want to know how I know Donovan
garbage.
Smith is so garbage? After that second sack that he gave up, Tom Brady just looked at him like, you fucking idiot. Do you not know how to, block, bro? Like, what is going on?
Let me tell you how good Khalil Mack was on Donovan Smith. Because Tristan Wirfs didn't give up another pressure when Khalil Mack was on Wirfs after the sack/throw.
Yeah, he had a good second half. Wirfs did. Especially run blocking. He was tremendous in the second half. And I'll give you this too. The Khalil Mack thing. A lot of people, I saw PFF. I'm not a huge fan of these PFF ratings sometimes because they're so arbitrary in some ways, but they said that was Khalil Mack's worst graded game of the season. And it's crazy because the guy had 2 sacks and another sack that was called back because of the roughing the passer. But what I saw was 3 or 4 plays where he was getting in easy, and I saw another couple plays where they were doing a really good job on him, double teaming him. Robert Quinn got in a couple times but never got to the quarterback. I think the main beef that Brady had was not that he was getting sacked. It was the fact that the pocket was collapsing so hard. You have one job when it comes to Brady. Just maintain the pocket because that's all he can, that's all he can work with. So maintain the pocket. And I think that's why he looked up at Donovan Smith like, really, bro? Because Donovan Smith, he overcommitted to the edge, and all Khalil Mack did was just swim inside and basically all Donovan Smith had one finger on him, and he just had to, Brady just went down. So
easy move, bro.
Easy, yeah.
It's an easy high school GED move, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, dude, Donovan Smith is trash, and he's gonna get Tom Brady killed.
Yeah.
So but again, when Wirfs stepped his game up after he gave up the sack and it got thrown by Mack, he was not getting to the quarterback so much that Mack had to go on Donovan Smith's side, in order to get to Tom Brady because, you can blow wind and you're going to get past Donovan Smith. That's how bad he was. But to go to the play you're talking about, you're right. So it was a false start, and then so it makes it 1st and 15, and then I think Brady got sacked.
No, it was a Jensen headbutt after the false start. Remember, because they threw the screen pass?
Here's what happened, because it was 2nd and 30.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So I think Brady ended up I think he got sacked or something. So he ends up getting sacked. So it's 2nd and 30. Or I'll take that back. It was 1st and no, dude, we're both messing up.
It's first. Here's what it is. It was 1st and
30.
15. It was first.
Right?
1st and 30. They get 11 yards on a pass for Brady to somebody, and then on that play, even though they gained 11 yards, Jensen has the unsportsmanlike conduct.
And next thing you know, it's 2nd and 32.
Right, and I think that's what pissed off Brady.
Instead of it being 1st and 19. We now just lost the down because you committed a foul after the play, so the down counts in the 2nd and 32. But here's the funny part, And it didn't seem so funny. It didn't seem so funny when it was Tom Brady, but everyone wanted to laugh when it was Jameis Winston. Jameis went after Ryan Jensen last year over the same exact BS that Tom Brady just went after Ryan Jensen this year.
But they clap for Brady. They're like, oh, my God, Brady, what a leader he is. Did you see him rip into it? Yeah. But Jameis doesn't get that benefit of the doubt.
He didn't get that benefit of the doubt. But it's the same BS, dude. What are you arguing about?
Yeah.
There's nothing. There was no bogus hit. Mm-mm. There was no wrong hit. There was no late hit. So what are you headbutting for?
Yeah. And honestly, Nick,
every right to lace every F-bomb that he dropped
right
in that little 3-minute tirade on the end of that field.
And that's why, Nick, earlier I mentioned that I threw a little jab at Arians because Arians says, I really love me some Ryan Jensen because of the passion that he brings. You know what, dude? There's a very fine line between passion and undisciplined and crazy behavior. I'm sorry, but Bruce Arians, dude, you got to put your hands on the reins. You can't be the most penalized team in football with this type of offense and this type of defense. You got to be able to say, you know what, man, let's work some more in practice on how we can avoid these penalties. Because let's be honest, Nick, penalties really, I mean, if not for half of those penalties, I think the Bucs probably win by 2 touchdowns. But what happens is you consistently give the other team these chances, and in the NFL, when you do give teams free chances, they tend to cash in on them pretty well. So a lot of this has to go on Arians, and honestly, Byron Leftwich, as a play caller, he needs to figure out what it is that's going to be successful for you guys, because it seemed like what gave you guys success to go up in the first half was completely abandoned in the second half. And you mentioned it too, the running game was working. I mean, the Bears were trying their best to just get to Tom, and instead of just running some draw plays, running some screen plays, making sure that they, keep people out of the backfield, they just continue to run those, okay, first down run, you get 2 yards, all right, now let's pass twice. You don't have to do that. You especially even in a game where you're down by 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is, you can always run the ball back into the game when it's that early. And it seemed like Byron Leftwich just doesn't have a good game plan for what he wants to do. And when you have an undisciplined team with and you couple that with the fact that they don't have a solid game plan, you're wasting talent. I'm sorry.
I'm with you 100% on that. And you brought it up earlier where that right side and I'll even give Ryan Jensen as much as an idiot as he can be, I'll give him credit for where it's due. But a lot of the running plays that were successful were going on the side of Jensen, Kappa, and Wirfs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a couple times they ran behind Smith and Marpet and got some yards, but the majority of success was coming from the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, so I'll give you a prime example. When we got the ball back, when we were up by 2 at that time, that's when we get hit with the bogus roughing the passer call. But now O'Donnell has pinned us within our 10-yard line.
Yeah.
The very first play out of that was a run play that got blown up. So what does Byron Leftwich do? Throws 2 more times on 2 unsuccessful passes. So now the Bears got a lot of time. They're going to have a short field because they're at their 10, and now we're relying on the defense. Now Vea was still in there. I think he got hurt towards
the last drive,
back end of the 4th.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, it's like, dude, stop abandoning the run.
Yeah.
And just let Rojo do his thing. He's been doing his thing all night. And I think that's one thing where I sometimes don't feel as if Bruce Arians gets in Byron Leftwich harder than he should because this is Byron Leftwich's second official year as being the play caller. Yeah. When they were together in Arizona, Bruce was calling the plays. But when they came to Tampa, Bruce decided that he would let Byron call the plays. But at what point do you as a head coach either get in Byron's ear and say, dude, we got to get down the field? I remember last year, and I can't remember who we were playing, but the Buccaneers are just driving down the field, running the ball at will. And Donovan Smith literally turns to the sideline and went like this. And basically was telling, let's just keep running the ball. What are we going to throw it for?
Right.
We got Dude, we have them on their heels. We're giving them holes. They're running right through it. And sure enough, Byron Leftwich ended up throwing a pass. It was incomplete. We only getting up 3. And it's the same thing now, especially when you have Rojo running the way he is. What's his name was active, but he'll get healthy pretty soon. And Leonard Fournette, dude, trust the run.
Yeah.
You drafted Tristan Wirfs for a reason.
Yeah.
Other than to protect Brady. Because he's doing a damn near great job at opening up holes for either Fournette or Rojo. Trust it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look, you have to remember that Tom Brady is still 43. For as great as a quarterback he is, he's still a 43-year-old quarterback. So it's okay when you have 2 running backs who've drafted 1 year apart from one another that are respectively, maybe one's 24, one's 25, and then you got an offensive line whose average age is around 27. Here's a crazy idea. Run the goddamn ball.
Yeah, especially when it's working. Especially when it's working. And I do want to also, because we've been kind of focusing on Tampa Bay and maybe their shortcomings, but I want to bring some sobering thoughts to Bears fans, because Bears are a little bit drunk with happiness right now over that win. Nick Foles was terrible in the first half. He missed 5 different open receivers in that first half. Matt Nagy continuously play calling has been bad. Chuck Pagano, continuously play calling has been bad. It took the Bucs being without Godwin, without Howard, a fake dress up by Leonard Fournette, and some more injuries on the defense to even be close in this game. And it bothers me to the extent of, because I mentioned something on Facebook about how, instead of having Trubisky missing our receivers by 10 yards, now Foles only misses them by 7. So
hilarious, by the way.
So we're in a good position because at the end of the day. And I had somebody say, well, this didn't age well when Nick Foles, when he scored the touchdown. I go, but it didn't change the fact that he missed all those receivers in the first half. He missed Darnell Mooney by 7 yards, and Darnell Mooney was like 8 yards apart from the DB. I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to sit here just because we're 4-1 and blow smoke up Bears fans' asses and blow smoke up Matt Nagy's ass that was a great performance. It wasn't. We should have been, let's be honest, the Bucs, they let up a little bit in the first half. You guys were up 13-0 at one point, right?
13-0.
13-0 at one point. And if you look at the game plan after that, there was no adjustments. There was no, okay, maybe we should do this, and that. I'm sorry, and this is something that we did a little bit of a pregame show, Steve and I, and we had one of the Rolling Meadows Little League coaches on, and he was just Pee Wee football, and we were talking about, just as a play caller, you have to have the instincts to go, you know what, maybe we ran that 3 or 4 times in the first half and that's not working. Let's run something else here. And Matt Nagy consistently, he ran Jordan Howard out of town because he didn't fit into the way we want to run the ball. Next thing you know, and that was again because he wanted to run somebody in the 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. He wanted somebody under the snap and basically handing the ball off behind him. Now that you ran that guy out of town, you traded up to draft a running back that fits that mold, and now you're going to run shotgun draws and shotgun counters. To me, there's no consistency. The Bears right now are lucky to be 4-1. We could easily be 0-5 right now. So it bothers me when we see this sense of, happiness, or listen, I shouldn't say happiness, but you should not be content with the way that the Bears are playing right now. This is not the team that you want to be playing in another 4, 5, 6 weeks when it really counts. So I want Bears fans to really hold this team accountable. Because let's be honest, Nick, and you can probably speak on this a little bit more too. I didn't see one throw that Nick Foles made that Mitch couldn't have made.
I'm with you 100%.
You know what I'm saying? It bothers me that he makes this comeback, and Bears fans are like, he's our savior. See, we should have never. And it's like, Mitch just did that 3 weeks ago, bro. What are you talking about?
Yep.
He did that plenty last year. So, and let's be honest, the misses that Nick Foles made, those are all misses that Mitch has made in the past too. And I don't see anybody on Nick Foles' ass right now. I mean, when you have Allen Robinson without a DB around him going towards the sideline in the flat, all you need to do is just check down the ball and he gets you 12 yards and you miss him 4 feet above his head. I'm sorry, I don't care about jitters. I don't care. People say, well, he's a streaky quarterback. Well, I don't want a streaky quarterback. I want somebody who can be consistent, because we already had a streaky quarterback and you benched him. So, as a Bears fan, man, you're happy that you're 4-1. I mean, I said it before. It's hard to win games in this league, but anybody who left that game on Thursday going, man, we're the best team in the NFC, or, oh, man, we're so much better than Tampa Bay, I don't think you took the right thing out of that game.
I thought your text message to me when you said, I'll see you guys, we'll probably meet up again in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see you in the playoffs for sure.
Pretty much lessened the blow, because I was thinking the same thing. And what kind of killed me was the Bears fans should really be sending a bouquet of flowers to Jamel Dean, because had Jamel, if Nick Foles threw that ball 2 miles an hour slower, it's a pick six easily.
Yeah. And
Jamel dropped that ball, but on the same curl route that Matt Nagy has now thrown maybe 6 times on first down in the second half.
Same exact spot.
And you didn't think that Jamel Dean was looking at Nick Foles the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, I swear to God, he's finna curl. And as soon as he saw it, he jumped on it, but he ran into the receiver and dropped the ball. He gets that clean at 6 and the game's over with.
Yeah.
So I agree with you in this sense, because I felt that the Chicago Bears gave up on Mitch too fast to save their ass against Atlanta.
He was a scapegoat.
The biggest scapegoat. Because Mitchell Trubisky missed a pass to Anthony Miller in that game against
Detroit.
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. That's right. It was Atlanta. Sorry.
That Nick Foles hit later on, but then we all forget the fact that Mitchell Trubisky was also being let down by his receivers, because Anthony Miller then, earlier before that, dropped a clear touchdown pass before that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm with you, where I think the problem is that hold on a second. I'm too fast. It's been 3 years. Stop it. I think he's worrying about Mitch. Here's the problem. Why are we forgetting that? And you brought up Jordan Howard. I think Jordan Howard is the greatest point in all this. When you come with a young quarterback like Mitch, right? And you come in, you got Tariq Cohen as your check down guy. That's been probably the best security valve that Mitch has ever had, with a running game in Jordan Howard, who, by the way, didn't he almost run for over 1,200 yards that year?
He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with us.
Right. But he doesn't fit the mold that you're trying to run in Chicago, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So the very next year, you bring in Allen Robinson, who's one of the most talented wide receivers in the game, but then you expect Trubisky to all of a sudden turn into Peyton Manning, and this team is going to all of a sudden become 13-3. Dude, that's not the case. And I agree with you on Chuck Pagano. I thought that Chuck Pagano and Vic Fangio are not the same defensive coordinators.
No.
I thought that the Bears made a huge mistake by letting Vic go to Denver as their head coach. I would have been like, no, he's our DC, and I would have paid him accordingly.
I would have paid him like a coach. I would have paid him like a head coach.
Say it again.
I would have paid him like a head coach. I would have been like, you know what? You want to be paid that way? We'll pay you like a head coach. And the one thing that bothers me, Nick, is that they both run 3-4s, but they run vastly different 3-4s. And one thing that bothers me is that when Pagano came in, instead of saying, here's the system that I run, let's learn this system, he wanted to not ruffle feathers. He wanted to be nice. So he said, you know what? I'll let the veterans tell me what they want to, what they prefer to run in situations. Bro, that's not how coaching works. You come in with a game plan and you tell your players, this is the game plan. So when you're telling Eddie Jackson to basically, you know what? Use your instincts, Eddie. You're a free safety. You're a ball hawk. Use your instincts. Well, use your instincts means something different in Vic Fangio's defense than it does in Chuck Pagano's defense. And we're seeing it time and time again. I mean, Rojo absolutely juked Jackson out of his shoes on that 37-yard run. So to me, man, we have to be more prepared. And I do want to address what Anthony said because he says too fast. We never said it was too fast. What I'm saying is you named him the starting quarterback 4 weeks ago. You had the opportunity to say this guy isn't good enough. We have somebody who's better. You didn't do that. You decided to make him the starting quarterback. And then when he missed a couple of throws, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, man, we really messed up on our game plan, or, oh, man, we don't really have the team or the depth that we really need to, you pull him as if Nick Foles did anything in that comeback against Atlanta that we haven't seen Mitch do. I'm sorry, man. Mitch is a guy who he's been professional as hell. I have to give it to him. He has been super professional about all this. He's taken it in stride. I think the guy understands that maybe he'll get another shot somewhere else maybe. I think he's hoping that maybe he can come in as a backup next year and win a job somewhere. But to me, we're not saying it was too fast. I'm saying is that you as a head coach brought in Nick Foles, and if you thought Nick Foles was the better quarterback for the team, why wouldn't you start him week one?
Agreed.
It doesn't make sense. These things don't compute. You can't tell me that Nick Foles is a better quarterback, but he didn't win the job against Mitch. And then 4 weeks later, when Mitch misses 2 throws, has an interception, misses another throw, you pull him from the game, and all of a sudden now Nick Foles is our savior. He's not. And the fact that the guy's streaky, it bothers me because it's like, hey, man, this streaky shit is cool when you're on a good streak, but when you're on a bad streak, what does that mean? It does nothing for us. So to me, and also, Nick, it bothers me now that this offense was made for a mobile quarterback, and we have anything but a mobile quarterback now. So now our offensive scheming has to adjust. Our wide receivers have to adjust. Our tight ends have to do a little bit more blocking now. It's not Mitch's fault that this team has terrible depth. They're in cap hell. We overdrafted tons and tons of guys. Anthony Miller, we traded assets for Anthony Miller, Nick. I mean, we traded up to get Anthony Miller. They made this guy look like he was Antonio Brown when they drafted him. And next thing you know, he's getting beat out by a 6th-round pick in Darnell Mooney. He's only playing 30% of our plays now on offense. That is just really, really bad from top to bottom.
And Anthony also said, I would like Mitch to go someplace else with a better system to see if he's really any good. How about the system you have now?
He was doing plenty good in the system.
You were just 12-4 a couple of years back.
And his numbers weren't bad.
You're trying to tell me that all of a sudden Mitchell Trubisky, he just flipping sucks is out of the blue? Or could it be lack of good play calling, lack of wide receivers catching the flipping football? Because my personal favorite game that cost me to get into fantasy playoffs when all of a sudden the great Anthony Miller couldn't make one goddamn catch. That I will never forgive Anthony. Dude, I'm not going to say it. I would almost say, dude, I hope he busts his knee, but that's common. I don't want to say all that. But I still have animosity over that. How about the system you have now? Mitchell, I agree with you 100%, bro. I agree with you. All defense. No, it's not all defense, dude. Because here's a problem. Oh no, here's a killer problem. If it was all defense, then where was Khalil Mack in that drive against the Philadelphia Eagles in that playoff game?
Or Adrian Amos when I'm sorry, dude, but at the end of the day, this defense was a huge part of it, and they're still a huge part of it. But when you look back at that team, Mitch was not the issue with that team. Mitch was very inconsistent, as you would expect from a second or third year quarterback, right? So to me, and that's the other thing that bothers me about streaky. You want to talk about streaky? We have a guy already who's streaky in Mitch Trubisky. He had 5 touchdowns against the Dolphins, and then the next week he couldn't throw to an open receiver. So we're used to that by now. But I think as Chicago fans, as Bears fans, and I said this again on the Thursday stream with the Rolling Meadows Pee Wee coach, you cannot sit there and go, we as a team have a great defense, so let's just do whatever we can on offense and see what happens. No, you have Ryan Pace, I mentioned all of the shortcomings he's had. He's had so many bad draft picks. For every one good draft pick, he has 3 bad ones. And when you look at it...
Leonard Floyd.
I mean, I'm sorry, but...
Hey, dude, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
Where did Leonard Floyd go?
The Rams.
He's in L.A., isn't he?
Yeah, he's in L.A., the Rams, yep.
Okay.
And from what I hear, he's flourishing in that system because they're not asking him to rush the passer exclusively. He's dropping back. I remember, and I will give you credit for this, when he was still with the Bears, you and I spoke about how he's not a rush end in a 3-4 defense. He's an outside linebacker, a power rusher in a 4-3 defense. And I totally agree with you. And it's proving itself in LA because he's not being asked to rush the quarterback 40 times a game. He's out there dropping back, man coverage, occasionally stopping the run. So, yeah, I have to give you credit for that one because we overdrafted him. The only reason why we overdrafted him is because we were so desperate for a cheap option on the other side of Khalil Mack. And what you didn't realize was this guy's not a pass rusher. He's not a pure pass rusher.
No, he's not. Because I watched a little bit of an LA game, and one of the announcers was like, "Yeah, Leonard Floyd is out there, but he has having a hard time rushing the quarterback." Because he's not a 3-4 pass rusher, right. Bro. That's not Leonard Floyd's game.
No.
It was never his game. And I'm with you because they did the same thing with what's the kid that they drafted in the first round? Shea Hillenbrand?
Oh, yeah. Shea McClellan. Yeah.
Shea McClellan. Excuse me. Shea McClellan. When they drafted him, and they were like, yeah, this is going to be our next pass rusher, blah, 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 this and that. And then the next question 2 years later was like, well, we don't know where to put him because you had him out of position the whole time.
And you know what's funny, Nick?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what's funny, Nick? He goes to the Patriots, and he was like a tremendous middle linebacker for them for 2 years. And everyone was like, where was this with the Bears? He wasn't playing that position with the Bears. The Bears wanted this unathletic, small, not strong guy to be able to go against 300-pound, 6'6" guys like Tyron Smith and guys like that. So, man, all I want to say is that the Bears, as a Bears fan, you've got to be holding this team accountable, especially next week. You've got a big game against the Panthers next week. If you can escape that game with a win, you're 5-1, and I think the Bears have either the second or third easiest schedule for the second half of the football season. So, we're going to be playing the likes of the NFC East and some of those teams. So,
look,
I know, right? So we'll see. But I do want to get to our previews here because we're running a little bit behind. So I know that the Panthers and the Falcons are going to be playing. So this is another one, and it's a big question here because last week you hit it on the head with your pick against the Arizona Cardinals for Carolina. I thought Arizona would bounce back, but I think you hit it on the head, which is that Carolina's defense isn't as bad as we once thought. Their passing defense is actually better than we thought. And also they can, that Brian Burns and some of these guys up front can stop the run. So they had a pretty impressive win against, again, a team that a lot of us were thinking was going to take the next step. And the Atlanta Falcons, obviously 0-4. It's been a disastrous season for them so far. Julio Jones, questionable and still hurt as he normally is. Atlanta only -1. Atlanta's only -1 at home. Am I reading that correctly? I can't.
Let me.
I can't believe that.
Hey, real quick. I don't know if you want to address this before we get into the game. And Anthony said I'm not a Nagy fan anymore. First year he was just doing trick plays, linemen running in. Trick plays, linemen running it in, and now he's scared to call plays and doesn't run enough.
Yeah, and also, and that's a good point by him, but this is something that I discussed on Thursday. that shit runs old, Nick. When you do that shit for 3 or 4 games, they have tape on it now. So listen, okay, fine. You want to have Khalil Mack running in motion? Go ahead, bro. I've watched this. We've seen tape on this. So those trick plays only go so far. And that's funny that he mentions that because you don't see many trick plays anymore. You don't see many like, hey, run this guy. Like, it's funny you mention that because this guy Matt Nagy comes out of the Kansas City, coaching tree, the Andy Reid coaching tree, which is supposedly the most creative tree in all of football with Doug Peterson, some of these other guys, Eric Bieniemy, who's probably going to get a job next year. We haven't seen that creativity at all, and a lot of that has to do with confidence. He's probably like, you know what, dude, I don't have the confidence in these guys to be able to run this anymore, and also that shit runs dry. I'm sorry, but you're in a playoff game against the Eagles. You score a go-ahead touchdown, and you need a 2-point conversion. And as a coach, you basically go to the play calling sheet and you go, what is my play that's going to get me 3 yards? Not like, how can I trick my opponent? No, this is a 2-point conversion. You just need 3 yards to get into the end zone. Instead, he brings in Khalil Mack, lines him up on the right side, and brings him in motion, and then runs a silly sort of run play that ends up not getting you the points. And what ends up happening? You lose the game. So creativity only goes so far. So that's a good point by him.
Let me see. You said Carolina
and Atlanta. Yeah, and I'm wondering how Atlanta is being slightly favored right now.
And they are being slightly favored. And you would be correct. Atlanta apparently is favored by 1.5.
Wow.
So
just give me Carolina on both of those, please.
I was going to say I'm right behind. Oh yeah. So by the way, last week, after tallying up these numbers.
Yeah, give us the numbers, please.
So you went. So you're taking Carolina plus the 1.5. So am I. You went 5, 6, and 2 against the spread. 8 and 5 with the pick'em. Oh, wait, that's not right. Hold on a second.
I thought I did worse, to be quite honest. After I was watching the games,
no,
I'm like,
you actually went. You went 9 and 4 on the pick'em. I switched.
Okay. Okay.
So you went 9 and 4 on the pick'em and 8 and 5. I mean, I went 8 and 5, but I went 4, 7 and 2 against the spread. So I gotta give him step my game up, dude.
But the spread. I mean, honestly, last week that was something that worries me about the spread is that we haven't seen, because Nick, this is only the 4th week that these guys have played. Now we're basically talking about this would be normally maybe week 1 or week 2 for some of these guys. So I think the spread, that's probably why Vegas is a little bit, a little bit crazy right now by favoring the Falcons by a point. But yeah, I'll take Panthers on both of those.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm right behind you on that. I have no faith in Atlanta winning this game. So
hell no. And I hope Dan Quinn gets fired after this game. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, hey, speaking of the devil, whoever took Bill O'Brien as the first fired head coach should have went ahead and
collect your money. Collect your money.
Go ahead and collect your money. That was way over.
That was an easy pick, though, Nick. I mean, listen, I understand they had a bad, really tough schedule, but last week in specific was borderline embarrassing for the Texans. I mean, if you are a Texans fan and obviously, those first couple games, Kansas City is a tough team. Baltimore's a tough team. Pittsburgh's a tough team. But Minnesota, you let Minnesota beat you like that? I'm sorry. That's a fireable offense in my book. So congratulations to Houston fans. You guys are going to get a new coach soon.
Exactly.
In the AFC West, Kansas City is 4-0, and they are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders, who started off with a lot of potential, Nick, and then the last 2 games have shown maybe they're lacking a little bit in the talent department. That New England game was a big loss for them, but the Buffalo game last week, I think Buffalo just kind of imposed their will on them a little bit more than they could take. So Vegas lost that one 30-23. In this week's game, 11.5 6-point favorites are Kansas City. So I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City in the pick'em, but I think Vegas is sneaky because they do want to run the ball a lot, and they are missing a couple receivers. I think Trent Brown might be able to come back this week. So if he does come back, I expect a lot of Josh Jacobs. I think I would take Kansas City in the pick'em, but I think the Raiders can do well with that minus 11.5.
I'm going to agree. That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. I mean,
and plus, remember, if they do get Trent Brown back, that would be a huge boost because isn't Kansas City like 31st against the run? They're definitely in the lower 5 against the run in the NFL. I can tell you that.
They're not great, and that's one of the big things for them is they can't, they really can't do anything but stop the pass. So if you just run the ball on them and run clock, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, you're in a good position.
Yep. So I'm in the same boat. So I'll take Kansas City with the pick'em, but I'll take the Raiders plus the 11.5.
Okay, cool. And hopefully my Cardinals, I'm going to call them my Cardinals from now on because I really like them, but against the 0-4 Adam Gase's, I'm just going to call them the Adam Gases. We're not going to call them the Jets anymore because, this dude is just one of the worst coaches I have ever come across in the history of watching football. This guy might be up there with the worst of all time. The Jets last week against the Denver Broncos, who, mind you, had no quarterback, missing a couple of offensive linemen, missing a bunch of pieces on defense, and all they do is go and beat the Jets 37-28. It looks like the Jets might be able to get back Le'Veon Bell for this game, but who knows how that will go as far as the touch limit. But they are hosting the Cardinals, are the Jets, and it's 7-point road favorites for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take the Cardinals on the pick'em and on the spread as well. I think -7 is right there. I think they should be able to win this game by more than a touchdown.
I'm with you, and even with Le'Veon Bell coming back, the question is, how is Adam Gase even going to use him? Or is Adam Gase even going to use him legit?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, dude, like, I don't understand what the Jets are doing. Like, I don't understand if they're tanking from someone in football that we don't know. I hope it's not for a quarterback because I still don't think Sam Darnold is a terrible quarterback. I just think that the New York Jets are just a piss-poor run football team, and Greg Williams can go too. And
New York is so stupid
sometimes.
sometimes. It bothers me how stupid New York is sometimes. New York media is sometimes, Nick. They're talking about benching Sam Darnold. What does Sam Darnold have to do with this?
Exactly.
It's terrible.
Exactly. Because they went out. Remember, my buddy will love this one. When Brashard Perriman got paid big time by the New York Jets after the season he had last year, if Brashard Perriman should have been paying anybody, he should have given some of that money to Jameis because Jameis made Brashard Perriman maybe a better receiver than he was. Because remember when he was coming into Baltimore, it was, he's got great speed. His hands might be questionable, be at great speed. And he sucked the first, 3 years in Baltimore.
They cut him.
Comes to Tampa Bay last year and was Jameis's favorite target. And fantasy-wise, he was a great free agent pickup. Now he's with the Jets and can't catch crap again. So somewhere James should be smiling and be like, yo, bro, let me get a cut of that check right quick. Though.
Once I start starting in New Orleans for Jameis. But so who do you like? Because I picked the Cardinals for both here. What are you thinking?
I got Arizona for both.
Okay.
Arizona -7.
That one wasn't too hard for us. Another noon game. Pittsburgh is going to be hosting the 1-2-1 Philadelphia Eagles. Doug Peterson still has a job, everyone, as he beat San Francisco. That was a big, ginormous win for them because I know San Francisco banged up. I'm not going to give Philadelphia too much credit for that because no Jimmy G, a lot of banged up 49ers on defense and on the offensive line. But they come out with the win 25-20. Carson Wentz looked passable. Does he look like a guy that is a franchise quarterback? I really don't think so. At the end of the day, Philadelphia has to sort of lay in the bed that they've made for themselves as far as the roster because now you have no Alshon Jeffrey, no Deshaun Jackson. You're missing cornerbacks. I think it's going to be trouble for Philadelphia this game. Pittsburgh's 3-0. They run the ball tremendously. And let's remember, they're fresh. They didn't have a game last week. So they are extra fresh right now. They are -7 is Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh both on the pick'em and on the points. I think a lot of people like Philadelphia as a backdoor favorite for the spread, but I see Pittsburgh being able to win this by at least 10.
I'm taking Pittsburgh -7 as well.
Okay.
I'm a reserve my thoughts on the 49ers until we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I got a lot to say about that.
Good. Okay, and Jimmy G's back this week, so we'll talk about that as well. But next game, Washington football team is 1-3, and they've decided Dwayne Haskins is an Ohio State quarterback, and they're like, you know what? Maybe Ohio State quarterbacks aren't that great.
Yeah, I wonder where I've heard that comment.
I was going to say, maybe they've been listening to the show a little bit, but but Washington 1-3, they've decided to bench Dwayne Haskins for former Panther Kyle Allen, and also I believe it was Ron Rivera said, I'm not scared to put in Alex Smith too. So it sounds like Haskins got dropped down 2 slots. But yeah, they are going to be hosting the LA Rams. The Rams coming off of their first loss of the season last week. It was the week before that they lost, but they beat the Giants. I just wasn't impressed with them against the Giants because you would expect them to beat up on the Giants, and it was a very close game even towards the end. And Daniel Jones and the Giants offense without Saquon Barkley, they're not an NFL offense. I'm sorry. So, the spread on this one, it's the Rams -7 on the road. I've got the Rams in this one. I'm hesitant on the points, just the way that the Rams played last week. I'm hesitant to be automatic for both, but I still think they'll be able to cover that spread and also win the pick'em. So I'll take them in both, the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take them in both, but I do agree with you. I was not impressed with the way that they played last week against the Giants. I felt they should have played a lot better. So, I mean, that's a little bit of kudos to the Giants for them really hanging in tough against a much superior opponent than them. But it didn't shock me, Dwayne Haskins. And then, dude, I cannot believe I'm finna say this. I saw certain Bears fans that legit were like, hey, man, let's trade a second-round pick for Dwayne Haskins. On to the Bengals and Ravens. Yep.
I can't even. I'm not even going to be able to. I can't because here's the thing. I wouldn't even be able to, like, I'm at a loss for words that anybody would ever think that Dwayne Haskins would be an option at quarterback when he's not the option for his current team. Let's just move on from that one.
Exactly. Yep. Bengals and Ravens.
Yeah, Bengals 1-2-1 are the Bengals going into Baltimore. Baltimore 3-1. Speaking of not being that impressed with the team, honestly, I was kind of disappointed with the Ravens last week. I think, I know they won handily against Washington, but that first half was super close, and Washington was without a lot of their pieces. It took Lamar Jackson, long 60-plus yard run, touchdown run that really brought them back in the game. I was expecting them to blow them out. I mean, when you look at 31-17, you expect that it's a blowout, but it wasn't as bad as you would think. Baltimore is -12.5 after Cincinnati and Joe Burrow got their first win of the season last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 33-25. Burrow looked good, and he did not. The big thing for them is just don't turn over the ball and keep trying to possess the ball, run the clock, and I think he did a good job of that last week. So Burrow against Lamar Jackson, I have a hard time. I like Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, but I have a hard time believing Baltimore drops any points on this one. I think they win the pick'em. Even with 12.5, I think 2 touchdowns is pretty solid. I think Baltimore can win by 2 touchdowns, so I'll take Baltimore in both.
I'm going to take Baltimore in the pick'em, but I'm going to take Cincinnati plus the 12.
Yeah. I mean, that's a large amount of points you're given.
Yep. And my thing is, I know Cincinnati defensively may not be that good, but at the same time, it's just like I feel Baltimore is going away from what made them Baltimore last year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Lamar Jackson, to me, is becoming a lot Donovan McNabb-ish. When Donovan McNabb was running and throwing, there was a lot of people that's like, well, he's not a real quarterback because he runs, and a real quarterback like Peyton and like Tom and like some of these other guys, they're real quarterbacks that stay in the pocket.
Yeah.
So then what did Donovan McNabb start doing? Started staying in the pocket to get the same respect.
Right.
It's the same thing with Lamar Jackson in the sense of he can't throw, he can't this, he can't that. But if they're winning games running the trip option and you can't figure out who they're going to run against, then what's the problem? Who flipping cares?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now all of a sudden I feel like they got to run these plays where he has to throw the ball to Mark Andrews and has to throw the ball to this. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
And until I feel that Baltimore starts getting back to the three-headed monster of Ingram, J.K. Dobbins now, who fits perfectly in this kind of offense, and Lamar Jackson, and even sprinkle a little Gus Edwards in there, I'm gonna say Cincinnati will at least cover the 12.
Yeah, and that's what kind of bothers me about Baltimore right now is J.K. Dobbins has not done much. I mean, you would expect that a guy like this would have a lot of opportunities in the pass game. Lamar just hasn't been able to get him the ball. Mark Ingram, save for maybe 5 or 6 plays throughout the whole season, has been really bad. He looks his age right now. Gus Edwards, honestly, has been the best back for them. He's the one who's consistently breaking tackles at the line of scrimmage, getting 6, 7, 8 yards. So, yeah, I agree with you. It seems like Baltimore has lost themselves a little bit in the process of trying to advance Lamar Jackson. So we'll see this week how they do, and I see that as a bounce back game for them. But let's just make this a really quick AFC South preview. The Houston Texans are 0-4. They have a new head coach, more than likely a new Romeo Crennel probably going to be taking over that reign for the next for the rest of the season. And you got 0-4 Houston against 1-3 Jacksonville. Jacksonville is ahead of Houston in the standings right now. Houston, you should be embarrassed by that. Houston only 5.5-point favorites for this one. That just goes to show you that Vegas is really paying attention right now. Jacksonville has lost the 3 straight after winning. They've lost 3 straight after winning that opening game against Indianapolis, who Indianapolis in their own right looks like a pretty damn good team too. So
they do.
Yeah, so Jacksonville doesn't seem so bad after that, but they've had a really tough time the last couple of weeks. I mean, that game against Miami was embarrassing for them, and then the game against Cincinnati last week, they gave up a lot of points. I just see, I see this one as Deshaun Watson being able to, sort of bounce back from a lot of what he does. I like him in the pick'em. I like Houston in the pick'em, and I also like him -5.5 though. Oh my God, man. You know what? I think they can win by a touchdown, so I'm going to take Houston in both for this one.
I got Houston in both. Next.
Not much to talk about. Let's talk about the 49ers, Nick. The 1-3 Miami Dolphins are going into San Francisco. It looks like the Nick Mullins experiment is going to be over this week, and we're going to get Jimmy Garoppolo back. But San Francisco still extremely banged up right now, defensively especially, which that's their bread and butter is their defense, and they're missing a lot of pieces on defense. George Kittle had a tremendous game last week after missing a couple games. Jimmy G coming back. And I don't know if Mostert is going to be a go. I think he might be a game time decision if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see about that. But overall, Miami, they're so San Francisco as the home team are -8. I really like San Francisco in the pick'em, but for some reason, I think the Dolphins will be able to keep it close. So I'm gonna take San Francisco in the pick'em. I think Miami is going to be able to cover the points.
Plus the 8. Okay. I had a buddy of mine who was like, when Tampa Bay lost, this is why this team's not going to be Super Bowl contenders. And then I was told, well, the Super Bowl through the NFC has to go through San Francisco. You're 0-2 at home, and you just got done losing to the crap loser-ass Philadelphia Eagles last week, who the week previous tied with the Cincinnati Bengals and didn't even try to win the football game.
Yeah.
And you have the audacity to talk about my spot and what we're going through, and that the Super Bowl somehow has to come through San Francisco. My friend, you smoke crack. The best thing I can say out of this game is that I have the utmost respect for the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores, who said that I will not be pressured into bringing in Tua. And I'm 100% on Dak with that. Until you know he's ready and until you know he's ready to bring in the reins, do not play him.
Yeah.
I am almost desperate to take the Miami Dolphins to win this football game, but I'm just going to do what you're doing. Because until the San Francisco 49ers can flip and win a game at home, don't talk about my squad when your squad just lost to the Philadelphia lame-ass Eagles.
Don't throw stones in a glass house.
San Francisco. Huh?
I said, don't throw stones in a glass house, please, if you're a 49ers fan. You just
Man, I swear to God, right. Don't talk about my squad and then let's not blame Nick Mullins and all this other crap either. Dude, they look like crap overall.
Yeah, they couldn't keep him upright, and in the second half they depended on him to win the game. You don't do that. I'm sorry. Kyle Shanahan's got to do better game planning, knowing that you don't have your starting quarterback in there. You got to be better, especially against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Exactly.
Okay. So it sounds like you're going to take 49ers to pick them and Dolphins for the points.
Yep, I'm with you on board with that.
Okay, cool. Let's do a pretty darn good AFC matchup, Nick. Indianapolis 3-1 is going to be visiting Cleveland, who's 3-1. Cleveland, man, did that 49 or that Cowboys game feel good? It's just like, I'm sorry, but when the Cowboys made Mike McCarthy their coach, I knew something like this was going to happen. So we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the Cowboys game. But Cleveland 3-1, Indianapolis 3-1, Cleveland at home. It's an even, if I'm not mistaken, even spread. I think So straight pick 'em for this one, and I really, really like Cleveland right now. I know they lost Nick Chubb, and that's a huge, huge part of why people are maybe picking Indianapolis this week. But I love Kareem Hunt. I think he's going to be, if you picked him up in fantasy, you're going to have a field day. I know Nick Chubb is not going to be done for the season, but I think they're thinking maybe at least a month and a half, 2 months. So for the next month and a half, 2 months, he's going to be their bell cow. I think Dearness Johnson is going to be behind him, a couple of rookies behind him, but Odell looked better. Cleveland's more creative now. I think they're not just play action with Baker and chuck it down the yard, down the field 70 yards. They've got some trickery in their game planning now. Indianapolis' defense has been tremendous this season, but I'll be honest with you, when I was watching them against the Bears, I saw some holes there that the Bears just didn't have the personnel to exploit. I think Cleveland has the receivers to exploit this. David Njoku will be back this week, so you'll have Hooper and Njoku. A good offensive line for Cleveland, and we don't really talk about Cleveland's defense, but Cleveland's defense is beastly. Myles Garrett is tremendous, and their secondary continues to step up. So I like Cleveland in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the only factor that I might have to question is Indianapolis' defense, because their defense is actually really good too.
Yeah,
and we saw that last week against the Bears on the road.
Yeah,
but I don't know, dude. I think winning cares a lot. Especially for a team that you think is going to be really good, but then everyone makes fun of you because it's Cleveland, because it's the Browns, because they've sucked for so long. But once again, if they stay focused on the run game and not try to make Baker Mayfield become Joe Montana, I think they can come out and win this game. So I'm with you. So it's a pick 'em. So I'll go with you. I think I like Cleveland in this one too.
Okay. And I think Cleveland will have some fans in there too, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that helps them too. Just having the 5,000 or 7,000 fans, it's still better than nothing. So,
dude, quick sidebar. Is the COVID still bad up there with you guys in Illinois?
No, it's been tamed.
I'm surprised no fans have gone to y'all games up there.
So I think the main issue that they're having with that is the city of Chicago. Really, it's just that I think the city of Chicago is just a little bit skeptical about packing Soldier Field and Millennium Park in that area too much right now. But even if it's 5,000 fans, my big thing is though, I don't like that some teams can do it and some teams can't. I think that's stupid. If you want to let's have an even playing field here. Either everyone can put in 5,000 to 10,000, or everyone has nobody. But the fact that like Jacksonville can have 10,000, but Green Bay can only have 7,000, but it just doesn't make sense. There's no consistency there. I think overall though, I think we're gonna see
more than likely in the next couple of weeks and maybe a little bit farther down the line, that teams are going to start announcing, okay, maybe we can think about it. I think there's already a team, I forgot who's maybe flirting with the idea if they make it into the playoffs to make it a 70% capacity, so like upping the capacity if they could.
Right.
Who knows? But yeah, COVID seems to have tamed quite a bit here, and I don't know if it's just people kind of getting used to this lifestyle of, okay, let me throw my man, but it seems like we haven't had as many issues as I'm sure you guys are having down there.
Right.
How's it down
Anthony's
there?
saying he thinks it's a city by city issue. So
right.
I was just wondering because I was watching the game. I'm like, dude, I thought Illinois was pretty down packed with this with the COVID going down. I'm surprised there was no fans in there, but I forgot Chicago sometimes is a whole different monster than the entire state of Illinois can be. So
and you have to keep in mind, very like liberal leadership is not going to want to take any sort of risk at this point. Especially with everyone sort of not really happy with the city of Chicago lately and just the way that they've handled some things. So I think they're just trying to keep it low key. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if in a couple of weeks when things die down and people seem to forget about COVID, that they'll say, yeah, maybe we can throw some people in there. So we'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
NFC East action. The New York Giants are 0-4. The Dallas Cowboys are 1-3. Mike McCarthy, he's going for Coach of the Year. -8 are the Cowboys at home. I'm surprised Vegas is respecting him as hard with the way that they've played. Listen, they score a lot of points. We get it. They're going to score a lot of points. But when you give up 39 to the Falcons, 38 to the Seahawks, and 49 to the Browns at home, you've got some soul searching to do. Mike McCarthy just, if there was ever an example of an old dude who has done something 10 years ago and getting credit for it now, Mike McCarthy's a great example of that, because what has he done in the last 5 years that makes you think this guy's the best coach? I mean, he's basically a fatter Jason Garrett. Like that's all it is. He's just like, he's a little bit chubbier than Jason Garrett, but same mentality, same play style, just gonna sling the ball. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott hasn't even really been a factor, as much of a factor as you want him to be. And it has to do a lot with the game planning, which is directly related to Mike McCarthy. So I think pretty much the whole country is expecting that Dallas is gonna bounce back in this game, and they're gonna blow them out and da da da. Honestly, Nick, I'm gonna go ahead and go against the grain. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take the Cowboys in the pick'em, but I think the Giants can cover that -8. I think it's gonna be a closer game than people expect, because I think the Giants are gonna try and keep the ball away from the Cowboys, and I just don't trust the Cowboys right now. I'm sorry, so I'll take Cowboys in the pick'em, but -8 for Dallas. I think this is something that the Giants can cover.
I agree with Anthony. We said is with your Jason Garrett. Comparison, just with less clapping.
Clapping, right, yeah. And no red hair. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what's going on. Well, here's the thing. I think what the issue Dallas has is that their defense is so bad that they basically feel like they have to chuck the ball 500 times in order for them to get back. Yeah. And I don't get it, dude. Like, I know they lost Gerald McCoy at the end of the year, but the thing with Dallas is, am I the only one that feels like the Sean Lee experiment should have been done with 3 years ago? One of my favorite comedians on Facebook said Scooter Magruder.
Yeah, I love him.
I absolutely love him.
Love him, yeah.
And he said something. He said something that made sense, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, every week he's always like, is Sean Lee playing? Yes, Sean Lee's playing. If you have to ask that every single week, it might be time to replace Sean Lee.
Yeah.
You would have thought that Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and Sean Lee, with those three names on paper, arguably should have been one of the best linebacking cores in football.
Yeah.
But Vander Esch stays hurt. Jalen Smith, you knew, was hurt coming out of Notre Dame, and Sean Lee stayed hurt.
Yeah, and let's be honest, they miss Byron Jones too. They miss Byron Jones a lot, because when you don't have a number one corner, it changes your defense.
Exactly. And on top of that, didn't they let Taco Charlton go? Because he went somewhere else.
He went to Kansas City, and they picked up Alden Smith. Remember former 49ers
Raider.
Yeah, they picked
Smith.
him. He had a good season, but the problem is, Nick, when you have a defensive line that cannot get any push other than one guy in DeMarcus Lawrence, when you got a linebacker core with no Leighton Vander Esch, who they missed desperately. I mean, in that Cleveland game, all Cleveland was doing was running stretch plays and cutback plays, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were eaten because Jalen Smith is too small to be that middle linebacker guy, and with no Leighton Vander Esch, you have nobody that can go coast to coast.
Exactly. And so, with that being said, though, yeah, dude, I gotta go with you, dude. I'll take Dallas to win, but because they're so bad defensively, I don't see them winning by more than 8 points.
And honestly, Nick, I could see this as one of those games where, like, the Cowboys go up by 10 and they give the ball back to the Giants with, like, a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, and then the Giants go down and score a touchdown that means nothing but wins them the spread. So that's why I'm going for that, just because when you have a defense as porous as that, you really can't count on anything.
Exactly.
And that was the last 3 o'clock game.
I'll take Dallas, but then I'll take the Giants plus the 8.
Plus
I don't
the 8.
think they're covered.
Okay, and the Vikings are going to be visiting the Seahawks on Sunday night. The Vikings getting their first win of the season last week against the aforementioned Houston Garbage Texans. And the Seahawks continue their dominant run through the league right now. I'll be honest, Nick, that Miami game was close last week. Miami was like very close to Seattle at some points. They broke out at the second half, but it's funny you mentioned Brian Flores because he could have easily gone into this week going, maybe we'll just put in Tua because, it seemed like Ryan didn't make some plays down the stretch. But I like what he said. It's just like we're going to stick with Ryan, and Tua is going to be the guy that learns. And I saw Seattle maybe take their foot off the gas a little bit last week, but they got the win anyways. Stayed relatively healthy. Chris Carson stayed in the game and had a good one. And Seattle is -7, which is surprisingly low for a team that's been as dominant and against a Minnesota team that really hasn't been that great this season. I expect Kirk Cousins, who always shits his pants in primetime games. I'm expecting double shit this week from Kirk Cousins. I think it's going to be Seattle in both categories. I don't even think it's going to be close.
All right. I'm actually going to disagree with you in one point.
Okay.
You're taking Seattle -7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Seattle, but I'm taking Minnesota plus the 7. Seattle has not been that great defensively either.
True.
They're going through the same L's. I know Jadeveon Clowney had to be a complete dumbass thinking that he was going to get $20 million from the Seahawks, but they miss him. They miss Jamal Adams. And no offense, like Bobby Wagner's a good linebacker. He was never a 99 on Madden good. And this defense, no offense, is getting torn up for some odd reason. I think a lot of it has to do with Jamal Adams being gone. But, man, they traded a lot to bring in Jamal Adams. And now that he's hurt, I think the Seahawks, for a team being 4-0, I think they're in the bottom 5 of defense, if I'm not mistaken. So my thing with Minnesota, more Dalvin Cook, more running plays, less dependence on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. Because
to your point, he's crap in on prime time.
Mm-hmm.
But what's his name has been snapping off for him as of late, Justin Jefferson.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of think that matchup right there might be actually kind of good in the favor of Minnesota. But Russell Jesus Wilson has been playing at a
Pat Mahomes is no longer Jesus. We're gonna call Russell Jesus from now on. I'm sorry.
I swear, dude. I swear. So I'll take Seattle with the win, but I'll take Minnesota plus the 7.
Okay, that's fair. All right, and we have 2 Monday night games this week. and a Tuesday night game. So we've got lots of football on Monday and Tuesday, which means less red zone action tomorrow for all you folks. But the Broncos are visiting the Patriots on Monday night. That was the originally scheduled game on Monday night. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was one that was scheduled for earlier last week. And yeah, they moved it for the Patriots because of the Cam Newton positive test, which they're saying now if he's asymptomatic over the weekend, they may just play him in the game on Monday. So we'll see about that. But Patriots are hosting. They are 2-2 after a couple of I mean, listen, that last week's loss against Kansas City, it's hard to really beat Kansas City when you have no offense the way that they did with no Cam. So I can't blame them for that one, but the Seattle loss, even in the same respect to they had the chance to win the game at the end, so they're 2-2, and Denver got their first win finally for themselves last week against the Jets. They're 1-3. New England is still -8. If Cam plays this game, I like Patriots on both. You know what? I don't have an if, and, or but here, so let's just go with it. I think New England, was able to cover both the points in the pick'em. I think Denver, to me right now, man, Vic Fangio is a tremendous defensive coordinator. He is a below-average head coach, and decision-making wise, I think Belichick will run circles around him. So I like New England in this one to bounce back and get themselves a win.
I'm taking I'm taking New England -8. I don't trust the Broncos on the road. Plus, aren't they starting
They'll be starting Mr. Ripken's nephew.
Ripken,
yeah,
the Ripken nephew.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I don't think it's gonna.
The Jets made him look good last week, though. I mean, if he was playing the Jets,
but the
17
Patriots
times,
are gonna bring him right back down to earth. This week,
yeah. So
I'll take the Patriots. -8.
Okay. And that game is going to be at 4 o'clock on Monday, guys. So just make a note on your calendars. It's 4 o'clock early start for the Patriots and Broncos. That's because the Chargers and Saints are going to be playing at 7:15. They were the originally scheduled Monday night game. As the Saints are hosting, it's 2-2 for the Saints, 1-3 for the struggling LA Chargers, who will be starting Justin Herbert for the rest of the season. It seems like Tyrod Taylor is healthy, but they just. I think they've seen enough out of Herbert to make it permanent. And honestly, man, I thought he looked good against the Bucs last week. I mean, the Bucs. The Bucs. They did a tremendous job of storming back into that game, but he looked really good, made some really nice throws, moved around the pocket really nicely. So that wasn't a surprise to me. New Orleans is -8.5 here. I'll be honest, I like New Orleans to win this game in the pick'em. But I think if you give the Chargers 8.5 points, I think they're in a good position. So I'll take the Chargers on the points, but I think New Orleans is able to win this game outright.
I'm taking LA both ways.
Oh, okay. New Orleans is struggling right now.
Because I'm going for this upset. B, because I can't stand the Saints. C, because I need them to lose so we can go ahead and just hold on to first place for another week. And Justin Herbert is going to light the Saints' lame-ass defense up. Especially, you got to remember, and the Bucs almost played right into Justin Herbert's hand. But, Justin Herbert in Oregon against the Blitz went 11 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Wow. But
do you know that the –
But he was in the shotgun a lot, No,
go ahead.
He was in the shotgun a lot. That's what bothers me about the Chargers is they keep having run under center, and it's like this guy's a shotgun quarterback, man. You're going to have to utilize him, especially with no Austin Eckler for likely the rest of the season. You got to utilize this guy more in the shotgun.
My boy Cedric Smith is absolutely right in my ass with the Rays beating the Yankees this past week. he messaged me yesterday. He said, "Say it with me, Rays up." I'm not saying that crap.
That's what
you say. That's your squad.
When you win, man, you get that confidence. So hey, Cedric, enjoy this one. Enjoy it, buddy.
John Fenton says put Jameson. Jameson is not starting over Drew.
Even though Drew hasn't been tremendous.
Justin,
Even though Drew hasn't been tremendous, Nick. I mean, let's be honest. Drew,
he looks his age right about now. And if it wasn't for Alvin Kamara, they would be in big trouble right now because Alvin has just carried them. I think he's their leading receiver and rusher. And I think for the most part, and you mentioned it with Latavius Murray, when they're able to like run the ball with Latavius and then use if they're on the field together, Kamara and Latavius Murray, that's usually good things for for New Orleans rather. But it seems like right now they're just gonna ride Kamara out until he gets hurt. They gave him that money, so they're like, "Hey, we paid you, bro. Now you need to take these 150 touches for the rest of the season."
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, no, dude. Hopefully Justin Herbert will enjoy a W. His first W as a starter, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he wasn't a starter in that.
New Orleans. Yep.
Okay.
It'll be courtesy of New Orleans Saints.
Cool. We have Tuesday Night Football on CBS this week. Tennessee Titans. We're gonna call them the COVID Titans from now on. Who almost ruined the whole league with their bullshittery. I don't know. You know, we don't know what the positive test results come from, but all we know is that the vast majority of the league hasn't had this issue, and Tennessee has this issue. So.
Right.
You know, something's got to be figured out here because I know that the Bears had a practice squad player test positive, but immediately they had that person in quarantine, no other positive tests. I think the Jets had a false positive a few days ago, so the Jets got a scare, but the next thing you know, they tested again. It was a false positive. They got a negative back. So it seems like the Tennessee Titans are just kind of shooting themselves in the foot consistently here. They're going to have to play a lot of games in succession, and if they cancel this game, I think they might make them forfeit. So Tennessee has to, tighten, get their hands on the reins here. I don't see a spread for this game, Nick. So I can't.
I don't see one either.
Yeah, I think either Vegas is waiting or they don't have one for this. But maybe we can update that later. But 3-0 are the Titans. 4-0 are our Buffalo Bills. We love Buffalo here. Buffalo's getting a little bit more healthy here. They've missed a lot of their defensive guys. Tre'Davious White's been hurt. I know John Brown is questionable for this game. Matt Milano's out for this game, and Zach Moss, their goal line running back for the Buffalo Bills, is questionable and hoping to play this game. I like Buffalo, and mainly for the reason I think they're the better team, but Tennessee hasn't played in almost 3 weeks. So,
yep.
I like Buffalo in this game. I think they're the fresher team, and Josh Allen is just. 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, and an interception through 4 games. This guy's balling out of control right now. He's running the ball really well. He's actually doing a good job of sliding too, Nick. He's not putting himself in position to get hurt. Remember, his first couple years, we're like, wow, the guy can run, but dude, slide, man. Like, get out of bounds. You don't have to consistently get hit. And it seems like maybe the coaching staff over there, Sean McDermott, got in his ear and said, dude, go down, go out of bounds. He's doing a great job of that now, getting them first downs with his legs and just getting out of bounds. I like Buffalo in this game, and I can't see the line being so crazy that I wouldn't take them in the points as well. But I like the Bills in this game.
Yeah, I like Buffalo too, and Josh Allen deserves all the love that he's getting. And one thing about Josh Allen is, a lot of people, and I've been hearing this on the radio a lot over the last few days. There's been a lot of talk about Josh Allen, as far as how he's grown as a quarterback. And the one thing that they talk about is his accuracy issues.
Yeah.
We all knew him coming out of Wyoming. He had the arm, he had the legs, but the question was his accuracy. But look how accurate he is now. You know what that means? That means a legit, solid coaching staff came in and actually worked with the kid.
Yeah.
Instead of just throwing him out there into the wolves and say, you figure it out.
Right.
Or changing coaches, once every 1.5 years.
Or offensive coordinators, even worse.
Exactly.
Like all these quarterbacks who have 3 years in the league with 2 separate, offensive coordinators. Like, how can you expect someone to succeed in that?
Exactly. And I just think that Josh Allen has been the poster child of, when you have a good coaching staff that will work with you to work on your accuracy. And if you're a coachable kid, then you can be better. And think about it. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson easily have to be the top 3 for MVP discussion. But I like Buffalo in this. I'm with you with the rust factor of Tennessee. They haven't played in a while. And I think Buffalo is just right now playing on a brand new high. So I like the Bills in this game. And I'm with you. Whatever the spread might be, I'm pretty sure it won't be anywhere from 3 to 4 points. I would take them in the spread as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting game because if Buffalo drops that game, but more importantly, if the Titans take that game, that's huge for the Titans because, the way that the AFC South has looked, they may be able to just win, they may be able to clinch that division in like 3 or 4 weeks, the way that Houston's playing and Jacksonville. And I know Indianapolis has had a really nice run, but it's been fairy tale like for the Titans. And if they can get a win here, that would be tremendous for them. So, and again, we mentioned how they're a game behind for everyone right now. So I don't know how it's going to work. I know their bye is already pretty much set in stone now. So if they can't play this game, we may be talking about one of the first forfeits we've seen in football in a long time.
Most definitely.
All right, Nick. I think we wanted to end this one a little bit early. I'm sorry, Steve. I know we were trying to get wrapped up by 2:30 Central Time here. We've got some things to do on this Saturday night or evening, whatever you want to call it. But another good show in the books, man. We'll be back next week. I think more than likely talking about who won the NBA Finals. I think, for Nick's sake, I think he's hoping the Lakers win this one.
Oh, my God, dude. I do not want to hear any Heat fans.
I kind of, honestly, Nick.
I will lose my mind.
Yeah, I kind of don't want Tampa Bay to win just simply, or I'm sorry, I don't want Miami to win just simply because of like all the success Tampa Bay has had this year. Screw off. You guys already had, the NHL Stanley Cup. You guys have, the Rays in the ALCS. Save some success for the rest of us, please.
Oh, we'll bring that up next week too. Speaking of Tampa Bay, we'll talk a little NHL because the free agency came off. Crawford is gone now.
Yep, up in New Jersey now.
I've seen people already crying the blues like, how come we didn't bring back Crawford?
He's 36.
I'm like, hasn't this man been hurt for the last 3 years?
He gets hurt at concerts.
It's okay to go. It's okay to move on, guys.
Yeah, and for the deal that he got, congratulations. You got a multi-year deal, higher AAV. The Blackhawks, they could afford to give him that deal, but why? Why would you give a 36-year-old that deal when you can you have PK Subban's little brother who you got in that deal from Vegas last year. He'll probably go back and forth with D'Elia, our other goalie. So, I think we'll talk more NHL next week when we have a full show. Anything in the comments to mention, Nick?
Let's see. Yeah, Cedric said that Jameis hurt came out because that was kind of a low blow shot to Tampa Bay's great job on coaching Jameis Winston. Anthony says, good show, go Heat. And then Cedric also says the new bronzexuals are sickening right now. Leave me alone. Okay?
I like it.
Don't
Cedric.
hate on me because I just want to rather see the Los Angeles Lakers and King James win his 4th NBA title than have to watch all these Heat morons walk around thinking that they're NBA champ. I refuse to acknowledge King James tomorrow, 4-time NBA champs.
Okay, all right. I think I'm part of me, the NBA fan of me, because I have no dog in this race. I just want them to win. I want Miami to win so we can see a Game 7. I would love to see a Game 7 in the finals with LeBron. And yeah, that should be fun. But all right, boys. Well, appreciate everyone watching. Do us a huge favor again. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the comments. But do us a huge favor. Share out the show. Tell your friends about it. Tell one friend about this show this week, and have them tune in next week or check out the YouTube. Check out our show from this week. Again, we do tremendous previews, as you guys can tell, and we're starting to keep track of some of our picks here, so you'll see how good we are at picking games and everything like that. But otherwise, man, Nick, stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Peace.
We'll be right back.